Consequence Podcast Network.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome yet again to the Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast from Consequence of Sound. Well, did you hear that? Hear those horns? It's time for the games to begin.
Regular Donald Sutherland over here.
I am Randall Richard Dawson Colburn. I am a host, and today we are here to discuss the 1982 Richard Bachman book, later revealed that the author was Stephen King himself. That's why we're discussing it on this podcast.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's a huge revelation. I know you thought we were just going to do a little detour here and talk about this other weird, interesting author, Richard Bachman. But today, this is our fourth episode on the Richard Bachman books. And it's The Running Man, the book about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just kidding. So let's all go around and kind of introduce ourselves and say, where were we when we first read The Running Man? Who's sitting across from me?
Hi, I'm Justin Gerber. Damien Killian.
You put like no effort into that.
Well, Justin, I'm the DK killer. Justin Gerber. Randall, where was I when I read The Running Man for the first time? I was here in Chicago, Illinois, and it was about a week and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
Now, when I first saw the movie, I believe I was living in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Home of some great people. And I saw that at a young age. Sheriff Joe Pay and the crew. Some of my closest friends and allies. And so I grew up on this movie for almost 30 years, and imagine my surprise when I was about 2 pages into the book. But we'll save that for later.
Yeah, because I'm actually curious, just like, what did you think the book would be? Yeah. You know, and we can discuss that later. But and then who's sitting next to you?
Hi, I'm Allison, tall, Juno-esque blonde, wearing iridescent short shorts, which clearly outlined the delta-shaped rise of her pudenda, Shoemaker.
Wait. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Can you say that one more time?
Yes, I am. Allison, Allison, tall, Juno-esque blonde, wearing iridescent short shorts, which clearly outlined the delta-shaped rise of her pudenda, Shoemaker.
Oh, that Allison. Yes, of course.
It's Irish. It's an Irish name. And I first read The Running Man about 5 days ago, quaking with suppressed rage in a cute little retail store in Chicago's own Rogers Park neighborhood.
I just realized, Allison, this will be your third of the 4 Bachman books that you're reading, that you're covering for this.
And the only episode of the Bachman books that you weren't on was when we covered the one really good one.
The really good one.
I read it, so I got to experience it, even if I didn't get to talk about it.
And then who's sitting to my left?
Oh, this is McKenzie Gerber.
Oh, there we go. We're back on track.
And I'm with Justin on this one. I only read it, I read it about maybe a month ago or so. And grew up with the film, unfortunately. But it's a fun movie. But yeah, that's really my first introduction to it, and I was very, very, very surprised at the book versus the film. So excited to talk about that.
Randall, was it your first time reading this too?
No, I actually read this a long time ago. I might have talked about this in previous Bachman book episodes. I don't remember, but I actually bought the Bachman books on the New Jersey boardwalk at a bookstore there. I was on vacation with my family, and I was a book nerd, so I always wanted more books. And I bought the Bachman books, I remember, and I read the whole. It's amazing how quickly I used to be able to read. I can't do that anymore. But I read all of them almost during that entire trip. A lot of it I read in the drive home, because the drive home was 10 hours long or something. But yeah, I read it, and now I can't read an email on my phone without getting car sick. Like if I'm in the car.
We've learned a lot about Randall's childhood because in the past, your dad wanted to go fishing with you, and you were like, "No, I've got to stay in, and I got to read."
Well, I sat in the cabana and read books.
And then you want to go on family vacation? Sorry, Randall's got to go read the Bachman books.
Or I lay on my deck and tan while reading.
So what you're saying is if your inherent rebellious streak combined with your unexpectedly rugged good looks made it so that you were going to be on a very popular, say, nightmarish television show, and you were in a fancy hotel room, you would ask for bourbon and books.
Yes, and don't forget the pudenda.
But no, you pass the pudenda because you're married.
You say double the bourbon. You say double the bourbon and pass the pudenda.
And no side.
So anyways, I remember reading this on a car ride home from New Jersey, and the thing was I hadn't seen the movie by that point, so I knew that it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. So I just kept thinking the whole time, like, despite the way they describe Ben Richards in the story, I still kept picturing him as Arnold Schwarzenegger. and I knew that like Jesse Ventura was in it because I was really into wrestling. So I was also like trying to figure out who Jesse Ventura was, which it all just ended up being a fruitless affair. But I remember at the time thinking it was okay. I didn't love it. And I think that's sort of an interesting thing about this book is Stephen King, I'm going to get into the history a little bit. Like Stephen King actually he thinks that this might be the best book out of the Bachman books. He says because it's nothing but story. He writes in the intro, it moves with the goofy speed of a silent movie, and anything which is not story is cheerfully thrown over the side, which is true. Yeah. I mean, like, but
is it?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is I find this book very tedious. Was the word that I kept coming back to as I was reading, because I think that it might, I don't know, like it feels very erratic, and I think that that's probably purposeful to a degree. He claims that he wrote this in 3 days, over the course of like 72 hours, and how did he describe it? He said in another piece, he described it as being written by a young man who was angry, energetic, and infatuated with the art and the craft of writing. So
when did he write this?
It came out in 1982.
Yeah.
So
was this one of those instances of when he wrote it in the mid 70s or before Carrie?
No, I think he wrote this like right before it came out, because I think by that point he had he pulled like some trunk books out, like Long Walk and then Rage were like trunk books that he just wanted to put out in the world. But I think he actually wrote The Running Man like in the midst of his success, and then just didn't feel like it was appropriate to release under his own name.
And of course, this was during his period.
Which one?
I mean, his field period.
Well, he was field for that period. It contains multitudes.
I think he's like kicking in here.
Yeah. Well, if you're
72 hours.
Yeah, if you're writing a book in 72
he's not
hours.
drinking.
But yeah.
No, he wrote this then. It wasn't this. This wasn't an old book that he pulled
That's what
out?
it sounds like he did it right before it came out. Actually.
Yeah, I don't think this was an old book. That's not from anything I've read. I have not seen that. But it's been. Yeah, I couldn't find like a ton about like the release of this book or like King's thoughts on it necessarily. But what was interesting is that it's been 30 years since the movie came out, and the movie takes place in like 2017, 2019, like those 2 years.
I haven't seen the movie, but I watched the trailer.
Oh man!
And it goes in the year 2017.
Yeah,
and I just giggled.
But it's funny because there's been all these like history, like these retrospective pieces that came out this year that are basically like Running Man predicted the future. A game show host is president. Or like not president, but he's our president, but not in the book, or the story.
They make in the movie. They make a big deal about the president having an agent,
yes,
and stuff like that. Yeah,
yes. So it's I did find it kind of funny that everybody was writing these pieces, but Stephen D'Souza, who wrote it, also wrote Die Hard, the man himself, kind of defined what '90s action was with a lot of his scripts and '80s. But Stephen D'Souza was he was very much just kind of like, we didn't think we were predicting anything. We thought this was all really absurd, silly. But it's interesting stuff. So yeah, let's read a synopsis of this thing, because it is, if you've just seen the movie, it is not an accurate representation. We have a longer synopsis and we have a shorter one. I'll kick off with the shorter one from this version. What is this? The Hodder Books edition. Kane Hodder?
Oh, absolutely.
The Kane Hodder Books edition.
His rivals, of course, the England Books edition.
So this is what it says on this collection of the Bachman books. TV's future favorite game show, where contestants are hunted to death in the attempt to win a $1 billion jackpot. $1 billion sounds like such an absurd number. It's like you could tell you wrote it in 3 days. He's like, oh, I'll change that later. Like 1 billion, but that sounds kind of stupid.
I feel like even reading it, I feel like the reward's much different than that, though. It's not $1 billion in the book, is it?
Usually the rewards are like don't make any sense today, but I still think that's a pretty large amount for someone today
$1 billion,
to win.
yeah.
It's $1 billion, and it's $1 billion new bucks. Not
New
old
bucks.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really
That's right. New
important
dollars.
That we
That's
specify
right.
that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Allison, would you like to read your synopsis?
Sure. This is from the Pocketbooks edition from Simon and Schuster.
Ugh, these covers.
Here we go. Tomorrow at noon, the hunt begins. Remember his face. Ben Richards is a desperate man with no job, no money, no way out, and a young daughter in need of proper medical attention. He must turn to the only possibility of striking it rich in this near-future dystopian America, participating in the ultra-violent TV programming of the government-sanctioned Games Network. Ben soon finds himself selected as a contestant on the biggest and the best that the Games Network has to offer, The Running Man, a no-holds-barred 30-day struggle to stay alive as public enemy number one, relentlessly hunted by an elite strike force bent on killing him as quickly as possible in front of an audience all too eager to see that happen. It means $1 billion in prize money if he can live for the next month. No one has ever survived longer than 8 days, but desperation can push a person to do things they never thought possible, and Ben Richards is willing to go the distance in this ultimate game of life and death. ...
I will say, to the credit of that description for this edition, is much more faithful than the Cujo description.
Oh yeah.
What was the Cujo?
It was out of control. It was
Cujo
like people were like
description.
batting down like the house. Like people are afraid of Cujo all over town. It made it out like he's going to go attack the entire
I think
town.
one of it was like it was like the most deadly
Force
is
nature.
coming
Yeah.
to Castle Rock.
Basically, just stay away from Joe Camber's garage and you'll be fine. Anyway, but that's pretty good though. That's actually a pretty good description.
Yeah, it's an accurate description.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what?
pretty spot on.
I would be reasonably interested in that book.
Yeah.
Only reasonably.
And so it gives us
about trimming the fat.
That's a good segue into the hook.
Yes. Don't you see? Don't you see how clear it all is? Not only can you see the future, I can change it. You can change it, exactly.
Which I think that description gives us a good peek into, which is this idea of a world that is run by entertainment, where entertainment is also a death sentence, and people enjoy watching people die. And it's a very cynical, sort of view of humanity and of government. There's a lot of distrust here. There's a lot of anger here. King was obviously probably responding to a lot of, what was going on in the world in the 70s. Game shows were becoming a lot more popular, but there was also, that sense of distrust in the government, post-Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that I like the central hook a lot. It reminds me of something like a teenager would come up with, like this idea of like some guy on the run and out in the world and these hunters like chasing him down. But, King really does make an effort here to draw he's very interested in not just the game, but the state of the world. And, it's not often that he does dystopian kind of stuff like this, where he's envisioning kind of a broken world in such a way. He tends to work in his own kind of, vision of what modern America looks like, usually.
I feel like in many ways it's a culmination of everything you've read in Rage, The Long Walk, and Road Work. Because I feel like there's elements of 3 of those books in here. Yeah. For instance, Allison, you read, I guess a couple of us read Road Work, right?
Yeah.
A few of us read Road Work. The main character in Road Work is rage-fueled and has a problem with the man, the establishment, and obviously that rubs off on the Ben Richards character here. There's obviously the dystopian games element, like you get in The Long Walk. It's a similar thing, I'd say. And then Rage, obviously, he's full of rage.
Well, but there's also the idea that the decent people are all hiding something nefarious, and they're rotten to the core because they're somehow denying succor to the angry and disenchanted. Which isn't necessarily wrong. Although it is pretty wrong in Rage.
Yes.
But,
Rage. Well, that's God.
But when I started reading this, I definitely felt like, oh, this is like the Long Walk's future. Like, we're right now we're at the Long Walk, and soon it's just going to be like we're watching people being killed on TV for free via the old freebie. yeah, I definitely feel like that they almost can take place in the same universe, the Bachman universe, I guess.
I do find it interesting, though, that, everybody's struggling. All these poor people are struggling, but the one thing they do all have is these TVs, the freebies, and everyone, like, that's sort of, a way of the government sort of controlling that lower population, which, through entertainment. And I think that does, in a way, that's going to have, like, in kind of our modern culture, that kind of metaphor, I think, was never going to lose any traction, and it's only going to get more and more potent because those things are inevitably on the rise. And, it's just like how, technology and social media so fundamentally changed our world now that pretty much, any piece of art that kind of doomsays those things a little bit is always going to gain more and more traction as time goes on, because people, I think, are always going to be distrustful of it to a degree. And people who lived pre internet/social media versus post are always going to have a mild little distrust of it, probably because they lived without it for so long. Just like how people, like when King wrote this, there were still so many people that knew what it was like to not have TV and not have entertainment. So there is a certain amount of distrust with this concept of everybody sitting in front of the TV all the time, and this concept of the government, they're just using that as a means to control us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's crazy to me reading this. I know we were like, oh, King didn't know what was going to happen in the future, but there's so many people that, or just like, when Ben Richards is out there and they're showing the description of him and things, and people are just like, buy it. And it's the same thing in the film. They do the same thing where they skew the footage to make it look like, Schwarzenegger, like Richards is killing all these people, and really they're not. And people don't question it. They just get right on board because they want to, fear this guy and they want to see him die. And I feel like, you could do that today. You could skew whatever footage, throw it out there on Facebook, and people just accept it.
Yeah, that's
fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah. I
mean, that was
real
fake
fake
that
news.
is
Yeah,
that is the problem.
And that, to me, was probably one of the more potent parts of the book, was the concept of, like, when they showed photos of him and his wife, they had doctored them to make them look like drug addicts and make them look really awful, and people just immediately, you assume that's true because a picture can't lie, right? But we've changed, society has changed in that way. I just always go back to R. Kelly getting away with, his sexual assault crimes on the Little Man defense, which is that, have you seen the movie Little Man with Marlon Wayans? You can digitally put a person's face onto a baby's body, which is what they must have done with R. Kelly in this video where he's peeing on a child.
That's a Little Man defense by a little man.
Yes, there was a lot of little men on that defense team. So yeah, I think that concept of fake news was very interesting to me, and that was played up even more in the movie, which I thought was kind of neat, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I guess, like, did you find there to be, like, do you think this concept of going out in the world and having to survive for this, long period of time, is that more interesting to you than this concept, like in the movie, of having to go in an arena and fight like gladiator style against all these people? Is it more potent and more interesting to watch Ben go out into the world? Is this an interesting sort of hook for you guys?
I think for me, the first quarter or so, maybe even half of this book, I was fairly invested.
Yeah,
I guess you'd say. But then for me, the concept kind of started to wear thin, and I saw why maybe the movie plot works a little bit better.
Yeah,
Yeah, as a constant freebie viewer, I think that the idea is really cool, and I like the fact that he goes out into the actual world and everybody's kind of hunting him. But if I'm sitting there watching Running Man, which is supposed to be like the best show on Freevee, and then we're only getting 2 clips of him, and we don't know where he is half the time. Like, how interesting can that show be? And they don't really follow the hunters or anything. So I understand why they changed it to make it a more interesting action movie. But yeah, so I don't really know how it's a great show in this universe. But I do buy it in the movie, though. I understand why they're watching. It's more like an American Idol kind. Vote for your next hunter to go after him and all that stuff. But
yeah, I love that. And there were some really cool action sequences early on. I mean, I actually had a very visceral reaction to the scene where he was going down in the tunnel.
Oh yeah.
And that was covered in slime and everything, and trying to get away. There was some good stuff, and I thought it was kind of amusing to hear about some of his costumes that he had to wear. He was like an old priest in one.
Remind me of that Val Kilmer, the Saint movie.
Yes,
like I'm putting on a fake nose, and now look at me, I don't look like Val Kilmer anymore.
So, but I think ultimately, though, there is a certain sense of like, I don't know. I guess this book just began to feel really repetitive to me, and I also never really saw Ben as a very like sympathetic character. Like he just seems like a giant asshole
to literally everyone, including his wife that he loves so much.
I know, and I think that like to a degree that's maybe he's angry because he's oppressed, and he's very resentful of people with wealth or for not sharing their wealth and things like that. He's clearly a Dem socialist. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just doing political bits. But no, I guess like it was very hard for me to rally behind him, and his journey was so nuts and bolts the entire time that it had the whole book has sort of a very cold, sterile feel to it, which again I think is intentional to a degree, and it does help color the world. But when there's, I think one of the things I like about King is the level of warmth he's able to add into his books, and there's so little of that here.
I think that's a Bachman thing too, though.
Yeah,
you think about
that's
most of
totally
those Bachman
true.
books are pretty light on the warmth.
Yeah,
They're chilly.
I have never said this before, and I do not expect I will say it again. But I liked this better when it was the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And that's a generalization because of course there are certainly different circumstances, but there's this whole big swath of like dystopian young adult fiction, and a lot of it is not very good, and even some of that I liked more than this book because in that case they design those protagonists to be certainly complicated and sometimes unlikable, but ultimately sympathetic. And if I'm supposed to find Ben Richards sympathetic, I just don't.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm not supposed to, because every time he starts to feel empathy for someone, he shuts it down. And I maybe was emotionally invested when he was hanging out with Bradley and Stacy and their dying sister and the grandma. And that was about it.
You should do Allison now, because you haven't seen it. The movie is much more like The Hunger Games. Because it's televised, it's nonstop, and it's in like a limited area, too.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Someday.
I don't know how empathetic the characters are, or sympathetic, but it's definitely more in line with The Hunger Games.
Yeah, it is interesting to make the Hunger Games comparison here, and I bet that who wrote it again? Suzanne Collins.
Yeah, and I don't care for those books. And I still cared more.
But I think she had to have been to some degree probably inspired by.
Oh, I'm
this
sure.
book.
I mean, there's similar things going on.
I think directly inspired by a Japanese novel that it perhaps was inspired by this book.
Oh, interesting.
But I mean, part of what I mean when I make that comparison is one of the things that really bothered me about this is if all they're showing is footage that he's taking, or presumably if he were to rewrite this now, presumably there'd also be footage that people were taking on their smartphones and things. Then I'm not sure how it isn't in the best interest of the show to sort of purposefully lose him if he keeps doing things like filming his butt for 15 minutes and like
in the
saying
shower.
a bunch of random shit and doing these really insouciant rebellious things that would make great TV. And I actually really enjoy that little tiny chunk where he's starting to get really saucy with the footage. He's just like reading the Bible for 10 minutes or whatever. And I feel like if Killian's whole argument is, oh, well, it's great television, you make great television, then I feel like there's this giant sort of overlooked aspect of what great television actually is. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like why... It doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't want him to ultimately hijack a plane and end up somewhere else and then do some other crazy thing, because then that would be great
TV.
television.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there were the limitations on what he had to do were like not there. He's like, you just have to record for X amount of time every day. But it should have been similar, like you have to be in public recording yourself. That should have been one of the stipulations.
He's even like sending these things in, and half the time they're just skewing it so that you can't hear what he's saying. So it's like, well, then what are we doing here? Like, how do you even know what he's sending? Because
well, I think the difference probably between Ben and other people that they have on these shows is that I think that for Ben, he has no desire to be famous or anything. He literally just wants to win the money. Whereas I think kind of the vibe I got was that everybody also wants to be on TV in this world. And so other people who do this, when they make those videos, are probably doing something that glorifies themselves and makes them look like a star. So maybe that's in that sense, that's like what the good TV is, and he was being rebellious by refusing to do that. And I did find it interesting the way that King worked, sort of played with technology with how, like, because, back then there were no smartphones. You couldn't, or GoPros, you couldn't just film yourself out there the whole time. So that he invented this sort of like little mini recorder, this, futuristic thing. But it's so funny because it's like, you can only film for 10 minutes or whatever on it. And then you got to mail it, like snail mail it, it's just like, it's funny because he obviously is thinking forward about these like new technologies and the concept that, someday we will be able to record out in the wilderness, like with these miniature devices, but at the same time, like it's still couched in so much antiquated technology, because that was just, you can't imagine this concept that you could, like, probably back then it was probably insane to think that you could send like huge swaths of video over the internet or whatever. Well, and then the internet, like, I mean, I know it existed in some weird form for many years, but it's like, I'm sure that was still just a sparkle in some dork's eye by that point.
A sparkle in some dork's eye.
Yeah. But so I actually think it's an interesting pivot into structure and format here, because King actually kind of touches on the fact that this is a book that really trucks along. And as in terms of how it's structured, he basically breaks it down into 101 chapters, each one saying like, 100 and counting, like ... and then 99 and counting and moving. And I think that actually benefits the book to some degree, because it does give it a sense of momentum and you feel like you're heading somewhere. And King is right in the sense that it moves so quickly, and it's literally just story and it's action. It's like, what can I do to get to the next point? And but the thing is, the double-sided sword there is that I do very rarely get a good sense of this character, because, like you said, Allison, he kind of just shuts down whenever it comes to anything resembling humanity to a degree.
And I feel like you would get like an interior monologue worth something that would maybe show a little bit more of the humanity, but it never really comes in this.
Yeah, there's just a lot of like grit, and it's that, King does a lot of character building through pain. That's something that I've noticed in a lot of his books, characters who are struggling through injuries. And there's a lot of that in this, but again, but here was one where I didn't really find the pain to be that illuminating. But he is playing with this concept that he has like a broken ankle, that he gets shot, he does all these things, and then in the final moments he's literally just like bleeding out and like this dying thing crashing this airplane.
Yeah, but until he's bleeding out, those injuries that he gets seem to have absolutely no effect on him whatsoever. That it's just like, and his arm hurt, but luckily it clotted all by itself. His ankle was broken, but he somehow still walked a really long way. Like, it's
true. It's like he's a Superman all of a sudden. Like, you forget that he was shot in the stomach until like 20 chapters later. It's like, I forgot he was shot in the stomach.
And that's a good point too. He is like, King said in an interview that Ben is like the complete opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's described as being like a smaller dude. But like
I've got some measurements I'll read later on for both characters in 1987.
Because when I started reading the book, like I wasn't paying attention to the age, but I just pictured Richard Dawson as Ben.
Wait, Richard Dawson,
as
who played the game show host in Total Recall?
No, in the movie.
No, in the movie.
I mean, so you pictured Richard Dawson as
Richards.
Really?
Because I kept reading that he kept saying he was the complete opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then I just had this kind of like schlub guy.
I love that the complete
like
opposite
guy.
of Arnold
Schwarzenegger is a 60-year-old Richard Dawson.
But I mean, like, and again, I wasn't really focused on age, but I just figured it was just like this, like, it's like semi-middle-aged guy, just kind of not doing much, and didn't have anything special about him.
He's got that thing where he writes a character, and it's really hard to not see them as being like 48, 49, and then they're 27.
Yeah.
Like, it's because that was true with Road Work, too. It's like, I'm sorry, he's how old?
He's my age? He's 55.
And again, I listened to the audio version of that, and I thought they were ancient, and they were supposed to be like in their 20s or something. But yeah.
Yeah, and so
Road Work.
Yeah. I'm actually very intrigued just by the concept when we get to the end, whether in the Road Work Rage Running Man trio, what the ranking is, what the ranking is of those. That would be very interesting.
Can we really quick? I just stepped on Mac there, but can we really quick talk about the count thing? Because I think it's bullshit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You go first, Allison.
Yeah.
At first I was like, this is really cool. I wonder what that's counting down to. Is this going to end up being how many days he makes it? Is this like the number of hours he has left to live? What is it? And then it just ended up being how many chapters there were in the book backwards. I was like, what the fuck? At the end, I was trying to make a thing where it was like somehow it was the number of floors in the skyscraper, and then that's not right. It just...
Like I did like it for a different reason, because for me, I at first I was enjoying this. Like, wow, these chapters are really moving quick. I'm going to be done with this book in a day. But then I think it was like 40 minutes and counting, or whatever it was. I thought, God, there's still 40 minutes left.
I know.
This is the longest climax of all time.
I agree. Like it just, and then there was no rhyme or reason to the length of the chapters or anything. It's not like, like some chapters were just super long and some were super short. And
Both was like 225 pages and counting. Yeah, 221 pages and counting.
If he wrote it in 3 days, maybe it was like the number of hours he spent writing it, like an hour per.
The number of bumps.
I didn't really mind it. But I was looking because I was trying to ascribe something to it, like because they kept saying you have to go 30 days.
Yeah.
And so I was with you. I was like, oh, maybe this is the days, but then that didn't sync up obviously because there are many chapters like within the same day or the same couple of days. And then I just towards the end though I was like, okay, we only have 20 more chapters or 20 more of these left, like. Obviously, he's not going this length. He's not. So I guess I wasn't really trying to figure it out the whole time. But once it did have the ticking clock thing for me, where I was like, okay, he's only got 100 of these to use, and once this is up, like his story's over. So I was interested in that sense, but again, I wasn't really trying to figure out what it meant like the whole time. If I was trying to do that, I would have drove myself crazy because obviously nothing didn't mean a damn thing. It's just counting down the chapters.
There was also a disadvantage in that because they were counting down the chapters, so I always had a pretty precise sense of how much was left in the book, even if I wasn't paying attention to page numbers.
Yeah.
And usually, I don't pay any attention to that at all. I can read a book on my Kindle and I can say 92% left, and it just doesn't register as being important information. And this one, the whole time I was like, oh well, the book's almost done. So I guess what's going to happen is they're going to an airport. Okay, so he's going to get on a plane. And then he's going to fly the plane to the building, right? And and it's the fact that I was made aware of how little time was left that I was like, well, what can he accomplish in this time? I think that's probably what's going to happen, and then it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think I guessed that because I'm a genius. I think I guessed that because Stephen King conveniently told me exactly how much time was left in the book, and I had to try to figure out what could happen in that time.
It's very strange.
I'm trying to think, like when this came out, were there a lot of those incidents that had happened up until that point? Of planes crashing into buildings?
No.
That's something else I thought about.
So where people think, oh, he's just getting away. I mean, I'm sure there were hostage situations where they took planes to different places, but not necessarily took them with the intent to crash into a building.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I can't think of really any other instances.
But now you do that, and yes, I went immediately there because as a in the present time, that is not such a crazy thing to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy thing to happen, but it's not crazy to think about happening.
Well, it's interesting
it's
to
not unfathomable.
Mac.
Right.
It's interesting to
Your
consider.
leanings are coming through here.
It's interesting to consider the concept that, him doing that in the book is considered a heroic act, And then it's so hard to view it that way, obviously, in sort of a post 9/11 world.
I know.
It's like, the ending has a really queasy quality to it. Whereas I think that there's, at least in the book, there is the sense that this is a win for the rebellion, the revolutionaries, for the Bradleys and the Eltons, like the people who are fighting against the man,
But isn't that building full of desperately poor people just trying to get enough food for their families?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I didn't think about that until literally this very moment.
No, I was thinking that
It's like the old
too.
Death Star thing. Like people are working the Death Star. They're not necessarily, they have to do it. You know what I mean? Come on.
Again, this is also something where I feel like God, I'm going to be like putting the movie on a pedestal. I never thought I would do that. But the movie,
I'm giving the movie 5 stars. Spoiler alert.
The movie changes a little bit of that. Like whereas like if this event happened in the movie, I would be in order to take out the satellite that was that they could tell basically take over the satellite control and tell the people that this is what's really going on. But that element is also not in the movie. The whole thing where they're lying to everybody and everybody's just like dying slowly because
There are no
pollution
airplanes
and everything.
in the movie.
Yeah, so it's like they took it, but they didn't quite change it. But yeah, I agree. It's not as heroic as if smashing into that building meant that there would no longer be free V and everybody would be able to like go to libraries for free. Sure, but that's just not the case. They're just killing a bunch of people.
For all.
Yeah, exactly. If that was really going to be like the one thing that was going to shake the world, and everybody would be able to be safe again, or at least educate themselves, sure. But it's not.
I like the ending, Mac. Yeah, if he just flown into the satellite, that would have been a pretty cool ending, Mac. That's actually a good idea.
But again, in the book, the satellite has nothing to do with it.
So I'm saying it would have been a better ending if they did that instead of driving and flying.
I guess
into
I just like
building.
the concept of him flying an airplane into outer space to crash into a satellite.
It was like Moonraker.
Or like Iron Man and whatever fucking.
Oh, the
Avengers movie
Avengers! That's
he goes
right. He goes into
yeah.
space and the Chitauri.
So I think what we're really
Comic
aching to do is talk about Ben Richards a little bit. So I think it's time to take a step back and take a grander look at all the zeros and villains.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
Let's talk about Benjamin Richards. Is he a hero?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Ben Richards is described at one point as the uptown apartment dweller's boogeyman, and I think this was Stephen King's chance to make the boogeyman the hero.
The Bozeman.
fine, making up for those boogeymen that were so upset.
Richard
at them.
M. Bozeman. No, I don't think he's a hero, but I do think that I feel like I felt really in the beginning of this book. I felt really, really sad for this guy. Not because I feel like he kind of just was a schlub where he just kind of stopped working because he didn't want to do it anymore. It sort of felt like kind of, you know.
I think the conditions that those people were working under were hazardous to their health. That's why so many people stopped doing these jobs.
Right.
Yeah,
But
and
like,
he wanted to have kids and
yeah, and then having his wife being sick, and just I just remember that first chapter, or where not the first chapter, not 101 counting, but where he's talking to his wife on the phone after he goes to volunteer,
Yeah.
and she's like turning tricks just to get like food for the night or something, and he's like, like don't do that again. Like we're gonna have money coming, and I don't know, it's just like, man, this is just such a dour situation for these people, and it's just sick and sad. So I really wanted to like him and get on board with like what was going to happen. I'm like, oh, I want him to win and get the money, and then you spend a lot of time with him, and you're like, oh, this guy's kind of a jerk. Like, I don't know, I just didn't like him.
I have a specific question about that, which is, it's in this context a less interesting question in the context in which I usually ask it. But when I'm talking to people about Breaking Bad, the first thing I ask them is when they stopped thinking that Walter White was the hero of the show.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different point. For some people, it's really early. It's like the pilot or an episode or two later. For me, I'm sorry, Breaking Bad spoilers for 30 seconds if you don't want to hear about Breaking Bad, which ended years ago. But,
You blew it.
it's when he lets Jane die. That was when I stopped thinking Walt was the hero.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's the flower in the garden when you realize that he poisoned the kid. But I think like there's a similar question that can be asked about Mr. Ben Richards, and when you stop thinking like, well, this is a good guy. Like,
I think
I would
for me,
say-
there's a difference between like a good guy and a hero. I don't think he's like the villain by any means, but I
No.
will say I was really with him, like you said, Mac, about his family early on. Okay, but for me, I feel like the last 40 chapters or so, he rarely mentions his wife and child.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it just becomes this like vengeful act, like he's just going to try to take down this organization if he can.
Yeah.
So I felt like the character was lost in that way to me. Now, his goals became unclear to me at that point.
I'll also just say
know?
that along those lines, kind of in those last 40 chapters, he, like we mentioned this earlier, but he literally is like a Superman. Like his injuries aren't affecting him, and he knows all the right moves to make all the right time. It's not like he had like military training. It's not like he is special in terms of being a great fighter or a great thinker. I mean, he was like a factory worker, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but he knows, like, I remember like I was like marveling when I was reading this, just that when he was talking about the whole bomb, like, gambit that he was playing with her purse in his pocket, and he was like describing the bomb like so perfectly, like and he was telling her like all the little, the exact look of the bomb, so when they ask her questions that she'll do that and all that, like she would know. And I was just like, well, how do you know this? Like, how do you know all these things?
I have a question for everybody. Would this character have been more interesting if he was a former member of the Games Network?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Just like all they brag about is how these are like the best hunters in the world, and that they find everyone, no one gets away. Why is this guy special? That's what I never really figured out in this story. Just like how with Amelia, when he, asks her to lie for him, why does she lie for him?
Yeah.
Like, is there something I missed?
I think she might really be experiencing the hostage thing that this guy's going to kill her. For everything that she's seen about this guy, the way that they've skewed the footage and whatnot, she probably does believe that.
I think what we're supposed to believe is that he says enough that she begins to question the things she knows to be true.
Sure.
Right.
And can't, like, in good conscience, contribute to his death while she's uncertain. I think because when he tells her about the photo being doctored, which of course, because all of the women in this book are either vain and stupid or unattractive and righteous. So of course, hearing that like his wife had a doctored photo be the thing that gets through to her, or whatever. Or also when she realizes that they would absolutely have killed her when they were trying to kill him. I think we're supposed to think that she is having something of an awakening.
Gotcha.
But I don't think the book sells that
Right. That makes sense. I think by that point I was kind of flying through the book by that point. I wasn't
literally. They were flying through the book in the air.
I wasn't giving my perhaps undivided attention by that point. So I think I might have missed a little bit. But I was just really struggling. I'm like, he's not that charismatic. He's not nice. He's not that sympathetic. And he's like really bullying and bullish. And I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand why he's that way. He's desperate. He's angry. He's mad. But I guess like that was the thing was I just like I found it so unpleasant spending so much time with him. And
Yeah, I think he lost me somewhere in between the pudenda and like maybe his second racial slur.
I know. I was right about to say.
There was one at the very end. I was like, whoa!
Whoa! Just like his first couple of instances when he's being interviewed and he's at the complex and stuff, and he's like really like condescending to the woman that's like, and at first
more than condescending.
Yeah, and at first you're like, well, because you don't really, the situation. You're like, well, I guess, are we really supposed to hate these people this much? And then, and then you make some racial slurs or racial commentary about like Killian and stuff, and and at that point you're still like, okay, well these people are evil, but they keep going, and you're like, nothing justifies that, like ever.
Some of those people just work there.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
I'm pretty sure that the woman in the incredibly impractical clothing didn't think, you know what I want to wear to work today? I want to wear a see-through blouse. A silk fishnet blouse, not a thing that exists in reality, by the way, just so we're all clear.
Even in 2019 of this book, no way.
No. It just...
I've got some quotes. So I feel like reading, especially in the beginning, he reminded me of like a John Carpenter hero or anti-hero. Like Snake Plissken or
I was thinking
more
about
so
that too.
The character Napoleon from Assault on Precinct 13, the prisoner, Darwin Joseph. I've got some quotes here I'll read. I'll save the pound cake for later. Don't worry, everybody. As we've talked about a little bit, there's some pound cake.
A hearty serving.
Hey, cop, got a family? Could be you next week. Move on, the cop shouted furiously. With a smile, Richards moved on. Cop asks, you a hard-ass, Sonny? Hard enough, Richards said and smiled. The cop gave him back his card. They'll kick it soft again. How smart do you think with holes in your head, Sonny? Just about as smart as you talk with a gun in your leg and your pants down around your ankles, Richard said, smiling. Want to try it? When asked if he'd like a prostitute as he awaits the start of the game, he replies, no. But you better make that 2 bottles of bourbon.
So funny.
To the cat. Oh, go ahead.
How about, do you know a cop named Charlie Grady? Charlie? The cop looked at him warily. Yeah, I know Charlie. He's got 5th floor duty. Give him this. Richard handed him the coupon section. Tell him the extra 50 cents is his usurer's fee.
Oh, that's because you let him borrow the phone call money, right?
Oh, and then I've got
what an asshole.
I've got one.
It's like Uncle Buck flicking the quarter.
Yeah. I got one from later on. He's talking to the reporter. He's like, the reporter's like, Jesus, I smell a Pulitzer Prize. And he's like, no, you just shit your pants. That's all.
Oh yeah, that made me laugh so hard.
I got one more when the cabbie's like kind of upset that he can't report Richard's whereabouts, and he goes, "I'm sorry, you can't help kill me. Should I leave a note saying I was here?" Like just a smile, like,
And then he doesn't leave a note.
Doesn't leave him a tip.
Cab driver.
Yeah, he was like really rude to him when he left.
Well, to be fair, the cab driver was saying he wished he could report where he was so he'd be killed.
Yeah,
I feel like
hey, that's just part of the game, baby.
To me, he was like Bruce Willis in Die Hard 5. Like nothing could hurt him. Like he's impenetrable to anything. And he's just like sleepwalking through this thing and then has like one-liners every other minute.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I did remind me, and I'm sure that King probably was writing, with an action mindset to a degree, and so and that's why I think in the Running Man the movie, like Arnold has so many one-liners.
Oh my
God, they're hilarious. I know, and but it's so funny because at least it's campy and self-aware in that sense. But I kept just thinking when I was reading this book, like he talks like an action hero. There's so many one-liners. He's so cool. There's a very Charles Bronson vibe to him here. Like just like when you were saying this stuff about like he smiles and walks away, like just that smart ass little smile he's giving. It drives me crazy. But let's pivot. Let's talk about some of the other characters. We don't really see a lot. We don't spend a lot of time with many other people other than Ben, but we get to spend some time with Killian, with Bradley, with Elton. So like, which of these characters maybe stood out to you, or did you want to spend more time with?
I thought Killian was a pretty solid villain.
Yeah.
An interesting villain. The bougie man, if you will. I've been sitting on that for like 20 minutes, guys. I think he's a pretty fun villain.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch the person who is obviously the big bad root for his adversary.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a fun touch. I will admit that I didn't see him trying to hire him coming. I probably should have, but that was an interesting conversation. So I thought he was a pretty interesting character.
Yeah, a game show host who's a villain with a lot of power. It's insane to think about.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I did like the character Killian, how he kind of comes and goes throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's just overlord, even though he's just a freaking executive of a game show network, essentially.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the book, is he like the host of the show? Or
No,
he's just like
the movie's a composite
producer.
character.
He's like the head honcho of the show.
He runs the show. I think Bobby Thompson
He's
is
the Jeff Zucker of the games network.
another villain, Jeff Zucker.
Oh boy.
I actually thought the character of Elton was interesting.
Me too.
Despite the fact that King just loves talking about fat people. there's one sentence. It's like Elton ran up the stairs and Ben followed. He jiggled. He jiggled.
Wasn't there a
just
case where he couldn't even move him from his car seat because he weighed too much or something like that? Oh, God.
But anyways, I actually think Elton's whole arc is so short. Like it feels like it's just starting, and then suddenly then they're after him and they have to get into a car, and then he gets punctured by the steering.
I have more sympathy for that character than Richard's, because there's a really nice little moment when he says, "You know what? They're onto us." Richard says, "They're onto us. Don't worry about me. Protect your mom, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
And he says, "No, you may stay as long as you want. Bradley Throckmorton was the best friend I've ever had. The smile faltered a bit. The only friend I've ever had."
Yeah.
It's like, aw.
It's sweet.
And Bradley, of course, is the guy that helps him get to Elton. So,
yeah, I like Bradley as a character as well, even if there was a little bit of, I don't know. I mean, King was kind of at the height of. There's a lot of he's just not really writing. These black characters talk in such an absurd way.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know what? This is a good transition I can make here, because Mel actually posted a article, a well-written article by a black Stephen King fan, about the magical Negro trope that pops up in a lot of his books. And there's something in there I learned that only 1% of Maine is populated by black people.
Wow.
So I was thinking, well, this is making a little bit more sense to me with King, because how many black people would he ever even encountered before he was famous?
Right.
So is that why he writes these characters so poorly? Because he's basing it off of old books or movies he's seen? I wonder.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like he came up with an idea for a character, and I really like Stacy too. So two characters, sort of a set here, and then was like, well, I'm going to make these guys black guys, and then just changed the way they talked, while still having them be, these characters that he invented who may or may not have been people of color in his head when he created them. Because I really enjoyed spending time with those characters, but God, did it make me clench my teeth. It just,
I'll say if there was any warmth in this book, it was in those scenes, like with Bradley and Stacey.
Her sister is dying.
The little girl with cancer, and then grandma with, again, I'm sure we'll get there in Pound Cake, but lots of discussions about big old lady breasts.
Va va boom.
Va va boom.
It's really strange, and what's really strange to me is that he brought all of this talk and speak about that in this futuristic novel, which honestly, you're like, well, this stuff never goes away. It's very much still here. So I guess that's not crazy to think that, but yeah, and like you're saying, he has no. What is he basing it off of?
Yeah.
But I will say most of the characters that do talk about black people or talk like two Negro women kissing or he's like talking or he's like I lost my month-on nickel and stuff like that. It's like
those are the moments
what's going on? It's just
Mafa.
It's just weird, but
it's still so bizarre to me that
sense.
like one of our first like kind of when I cocked my head when I was reading early on is when he does the word association game with the doctor, and the first thing the doctor says, like the first word is doctor, and he responds with the N word.
I know.
Where are you getting that? What dark part of your body is that coming from? Like that was just so bizarre to me.
Because you have to pin it both on the character and on the writer, right? Like Stephen King was like, I know what to do here, and
but I don't even get what he was going for there.
I have no idea.
Well, it just struck me as
weird.
he was insulting the doctor, I guess, because he was attacking the doctor in some way. But just for that being the word that you go to, it's just so bizarre to me. It's like, how is that supposed to make us endear us to the character? I'm not saying the character needs to be a nice, cuddly guy or whatever. No. But like, why? Like, a character like spewing racial slurs as insults, like as our hero it's just a curious choice. Like I guess it's a very bizarre way to try to get us on board with this character, even if you're trying to make a badass. Like that's not a badass thing to do.
Yeah,
and I think this is King's first action story.
Yeah,
I think he was trying to like look how badass this guy is. Like, no, that's not.
No, it's not.
Like John McClane was calling one of the Hans's troops like come on, it's not gonna fly.
He even describes Killian. He says that Killian was so black, in fact, that for a moment Richards was struck with unreality.
Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the same paragraph where he says it looks like he walked out of a minstrel show?
A minstrel show, yeah. Well, actually, I have the original. What he actually originally wrote here, though, so let's see what's better. He actually said Killian was black, and I mean really, really black.
Oh, God.
He didn't really say that.
Oh. The thing is, though, I wouldn't have been surprised.
No, I wouldn't have either.
Like they stretch it out, italics, really.
Yeah, my thought was, wow, I forgot that part. Not that, no,
it wasn't that much a
Justin's pulling our
surprise.
leg. Ugh.
See, I guess I maybe would have liked, and the thing is, this maybe in a way betrays what King likes about the book, which is the sense that it's so focused, it's very laser pointed, and it follows Ben. We're behind his shoulder throughout the whole thing. But man, I would have loved to if this were an ensemble piece and we got to see McCone's thought process as he was hunting Ben, and we revisited Bradley after they had parted and saw the government pick him up or whatever, or we spent time with Laughlin, the other guy who's the running man simultaneously. What is he doing? Those stories I found all very interesting as well. I was much more interested in what's going through McCone's head or what's going through Laughlin's head or what's going through Bradley's head than I was with Ben.
Or anybody watching him on TV.
Yeah.
The guy who makes his papers, or Stacy, or heaven forbid Sheila, poor Sheila, just anyone, or Mrs. whoever who lives down the hall, anyone who
Jenner.
knows him watching him on TV, that would have been really interesting to me.
Well, this is a criticism I've had of early King. I feel like sometimes he doesn't know how much of the villain to show.
Yeah.
For instance, we spend way too much time with the shop in Firestarter.
Yep.
But we don't spend enough time with the hunters here.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balance that he was really struggling with, I think, in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, and is that a good way to transition to McCone? Because that's my biggest problem with McCone.
Yeah.
That we don't actually see him be a badass at all.
No. Right.
We know he's a badass by reputation, and then Ben Richards, Superman, breaks him immediately, and he's like a sobbing, sniveling wreck on the back of an airplane.
And it's once again, Richards wasn't some con man who was working the streets. He was just some factory worker. Anyway, not to, diminish. I'm sure there's some terrific con men who are also factory workers out there.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I'm
want to
just,
insult them.
like he operates like somebody who's had a life's worth of training in like spy tactics and subterfuge and things.
Yeah, because I don't
wild.
care how brilliant you are, and I think we are supposed to believe that he's brilliant.
Yeah.
There are things here that don't make any sense.
Right.
How he would know them, why he would know them.
Well, here's the thing. At the end of this book, Killian is approaching Richards to become basically the next McCone, right? The
Yeah.
next Hunter, the next like. So maybe McCone was just happened to be really good, and maybe he was a running man at some point, and didn't have this great spy background. But they say that he's supposed to, right?
Well, they say he's just incredible at his job. I don't know.
But
It's
we
a
don't
very
know.
strange
But again, we don't know his
character.
backstory or anything like that. And like I found myself really interested in him, especially when like they're basically he's saying in front of him like, "Oh, we're gonna give Richards your job." Basically, you're like, "Well, what does he think about that?" And I don't know. I feel like they missed out on making the book more interesting by following like even Killian or McCone's like thought process, like following those characters.
Yes, I agree, 100%.
I kept picturing Philip Seymour Hoffman in whichever Mission Impossible movie he's in.
Oh yeah, the third one.
Where
Impossible
like
3.
he's always 2 ticks away from a giant temper tantrum, but is still really imposing and scary.
Yeah, because physically you wouldn't look at him and say, "Oh, this is gonna be some badass villain," but no, he's great in that movie.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's also a great villain in Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, absolutely. Also in Son of a Woman, he's a little jerk.
Oh yeah, he's a little punk. What do we think about Amelia as a character?
I will say the one thing about Amelia. Even at the very, very end, she was still not 100% on board with Ben Richards.
Yeah.
It wasn't like she was totally turned over. Even as she's getting thrown out of the plane when the door breaks up, she's still questioning, like, I don't know about this. I don't know about you. Whoosh, blown out the plane. So at least you can do some weird 180 in the span of like 2 hours.
Or maybe I was waiting for them to bang or something.
Allison, you alluded to this earlier. She just keeps insulting Richard's wife. And about how she looks. Oh, she should consider getting surgery or something
really
like that.
Take better care of
Yeah,
herself.
yeah,
That
yeah,
little tramp.
But isn't what she? Oh, sorry, no.
It's just. No, Mac, you make your point. I have a longer point.
Oh, I was just gonna say, but isn't what Amelia is seeing the skewed versions that they're putting out
It is,
there?
but she's still like being really like cruel about it, though.
She's also being like held hostage. So
Yeah.
Yeah, still, it's weird. It's a weird.
Listen, I love Amelia.
It's again though. Again, like
No, I'm
you're
just
making this character's being held hostage, unsympathetic, much like you're making Richards being portrayed as being unsympathetic, and both are being unintentionally unsympathetic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of uns going on here.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. It's again, when you read these characters. Before I read the book, I thought, wow, he wrote this in 3 days. And then when you're done with the book, you're like, oh yeah, he definitely wrote this in 3 days. You didn't have any time to go back over these characters and say, well, maybe this beat for this character isn't quite landing.
Yeah, and
maybe I shouldn't call this doctrine N-word in the second
I know.
chapter.
Well, he said that it was he said it was pretty much published, as it was when he finished it, which I think
absolutely believe it.
Yeah,
On
it
the
feels like
road
it.
got a fucking edit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he's not the first person to do this, but good lord.
yeah. This very much does feel like an unedited book.
But again, he could hide behind the Bachman moniker because he wasn't outed yet.
That is true. I wonder if this was a Stephen King book, he probably would have done a lot more edits on this.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I see what you're saying, Mac. As an experiment of just trying to write something in 3 days and throwing it out there no matter what, I get it. But this is not a book this book is not as good as it should have been. I
want to challenge the people in this room to write a book in 3 days and see who comes up with the best book.
Well,
how long before like I have somebody calling somebody the N-word like this in chapter 7? Like I had nothing left. I had nothing
finally
left.
understand why he does this. I've used all the other words.
All of my imagination was sapped after 15 hours.
Yeah, right.
I'm like a YouTube gamer. It just slipped out.
it was a heated moment.
So about Amelia, I keep thinking, man, I guess I should be more invested in her since there are no other female characters with anything resembling development. Like I have nothing else to latch onto. Every woman in this book is described either by how horrendously sexy she is, offensively sexy she is, or
sick,
or beautifully ugly. Basically,
Yeah.
like all of with the exception of Elton's mother, all of the female characters toward whom we're supposed to feel sympathetic are older or ailing in some way. Even poor Sheila, it's like, well, she was a very plain woman. But
Yeah.
in this moment of standing up to her husband, she seemed to glow with inner beauty or some bullshit like that.
Well, they even
But
said Eldon's
even-
mother was kind of losing it too at a certain point because something
Yes.
happened to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
they're
So
all.
it's frustrating. Not all characters have to. I mean, not all books have to be about women. There are certainly lots of books that aren't, and some of them are pretty good. But it's frustrating to engage with an author that you really love and stumble across a book like this and have it be so where all of the women are basically props.
Yeah.
And so then you get to Amelia, and I was like, oh my God, are we actually spending time with a woman now? That's great. And then her actions don't make any sense at all. I was still somewhat compelled just because it's relatively easy to put yourself in that situation. What would you do if you existed in a dystopian future where you were being lied to and weren't aware of it, and you end up in this life-threatening situation, forced to do these things you would never actually do, and as you're doing this, you're being confronted with this other reality. That is an interesting position to be in. But every time I would start to be like, God, I don't actually know what I would do if this happened to me. I have no idea how I would react. I would get punched right back out of it with sentences like, Richard noticed for the first time how perfect her breasts were beneath the bloodstained black and green blouse. How perfect and how precious.
Yes, I was saving that.
Or there's one where she's running away from the car and her hair is streaming out behind her, all goddess-like. I think there's a point when he's fantasizing about her sexually.
Yeah.
It's not in any way, shape, or form relevant. And her character could have been incredibly well developed, and I would still have a hard time getting invested because it just does such a disservice to the story every time this shit happens.
That breast comment was so out of nowhere that I cackled as I was reading it.
I threw that in pound cake immediately because it did come out of absolutely.
It was
nowhere.
only surpassed by. We'll talk about.
We're
it.
not. We're not going to have a shortage of pound
but
cake.
do you
Anyway,
think-
Amelia. Blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that? I mean, I know she's not really a well-written female character, but in terms of a upper tier, middle class, blinded by the freebie, do you think that they do a good job of pulling just someone off the street that just watches freebie and believes?
Well,
everything
I
that they
got
read?
that. I get where your everyday citizen would just eventually buy into the society that they've obviously just grown up in. They didn't see any transition.
Because I felt like
I got that, but
when they first introduced her, I was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting because we've got Richards, who's just like the lower tier, on the ground, the groundling or whatever, and then you have this woman, and seeing them interact was interesting. But the longer we spent time with them, I was just like,
who are these people?
Who
are these even
who
people?
Are you? Why are you doing that?
The most interesting moment that she has, I think, is when they're on the plane and he starts writing her the note like, hey, we have to make them believe that this is really a bomb. The longer they believe it's a bomb, the longer we're going to be alive. Please start to freak out, have a panic, whatever. I'm certain you're bugged and he's going to hear you, whatever. And she does that, and then she takes it a little bit further, and you can tell that she's kind of telling the truth, and she has that line, maybe I should just jostle you and this can all end right now. I feel like maybe that's what I want to do, whatever the exact quote is. And then McCone comes running out from the back, totally white-faced, and makes her be the stewardess. But that, I was like, there are so many possible motivations for somebody doing that, and it's an interesting choice for a person in this situation to make. And if King were more focused on this person and why she's doing the things she's doing, I think it could have been a really compelling final act of the book.
Yeah.
I think this is long overdue for a television miniseries remake where we actually follow all these characters, and you could drag this out because if it is the 30-day thing, I feel like it would be a good miniseries. Yeah, if you spent time with all the other characters, even his wife, there's so much you could go into there, and we just don't see any of it. And obviously, you'd have to change a lot of the dialogue.
I mean, you could do a 24 style situation where there are 22 episodes and it's actually 22 days and it's one
minus
episode
22
per
and counting.
day. Yeah,
it counts down instead of counting up.
Yeah.
Any other characters?
We talked about
the baby.
The baby.
Well, the baby dies.
The baby dies.
Okay, there we go. That's something I want to talk about. There was a moment of humanity when Richards finds out that his wife and child were dead.
Yeah.
That's actually a good.
Yeah.
That's a good moment there.
Yeah.
I will
We
say.
just had to wait till the very end of the book.
We had to wait till there was 2 minutes left in counting.
When does he decide to smash this plane into the building?
I think it's at that point is after he finds out his wife and
they're
child
already
are dead,
in the
right?
air, right?
Yeah.
Because I had trouble believing that. I was like, well, if this guy really is a jerk, if he knows he's going to do this, and he's bringing Amelia onto the plane and all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't
like,
think
wow,
he's planning.
what an
But he does.
asshole.
He gets her off the plane before he decides to do that. Obviously.
Yeah.
But I think he decides after he finds out that he's got literally nothing left to lose, so let me take out this network.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
what I
where
think,
that
too.
was going on through
Do
his mind.
you believe that it's really a random act of violence? Is Killian telling the truth, or did the Games Network kill them?
That's a good
or
question.
are they even really dead? Maybe they're not dead.
That's a good question too.
Honestly, I felt like they weren't really dead, and that because there was no way for him to know, and they were just doing anything that they felt would drive him to make the decision to join them instead of doing whatever he was going to do.
Well, I think that again, I think it would work either way because I think the Games Network would know if they were killed. I think they were monitoring from the very beginning. I mean, people were kind of around them from the very beginning, so I would not be surprised about that. I like how once again you don't trust Killian at all, and you have really no reason to. But he could be telling the truth, but he could be lying.
I sort of think maybe he is. At first, I thought, well, obviously they killed them, and then it occurred to me they might not be dead at all. But then in this world, it is completely reasonable that a random act of violence. I mean, it's obviously a precarious life that these people are living, and they're in a dangerous place. And it's like, well, maybe that's actually more interesting if life is that fragile, which it is. Yeah, I don't know.
I also feel like why would he tell him they were dead if he was trying to get him to be?
Well, because I think he wanted to be guaranteed that he could still see his family if he joined the network or whatever, something like that. He's like, that's impossible because we would never allow that, but it doesn't matter because your family's dead.
Yeah.
So again, there's a bunch of different angles you could take with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure.
I like that ambiguity.
There's some ambiguity there in this
Yeah.
book. There's something that's not just blunt force in your face.
Are you guys? Would you say you're ready? I see the lightning cracking in the sky. Are we ready to stumble upon the cemetery?
Yes.
Let's do it.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
The cemetery gates are now open.
Finally, we're here.
We're here. The crisp dew of the grass, the frost.
No. We're gonna keep going.
no.
Do not cut that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in the frosty symmetry.
That's right. We were
don't know
gonna
what the fuck
ramble
I
on
was
through
doing
here.
there.
Sounds like a Robert Frost poem.
a really bad one. So yeah, cemetery. This is where we like to talk about spooky things. What spooked us in this book? Obviously, you can kind of gauge from what we've been saying that we weren't huge fans of The Running Man, but I will say that there were a couple scenes that I found very effective from kind of a freaky standpoint, and that's there's not a lot of horror in this book, but and just the concept of a character having to outrun certain people and having to do certain things like I am a very claustrophobic person, so the scene when he went down the pipe was to me kind of really utterly terrifying. I'll read this section, which is it's kind of it's a cumulative sort of thing, but this just gives you an example. This is one thing that King's very good at, is he's very good at the details and getting really deep and nitty gritty into moments like this. So slowly he began to wriggle around until his chest was against the pipe instead of his back. This slime coating acted as a lubricant, helping his movement. It was very bright in the pipe now and getting warmer. The vented cover threw prison bar shadows on his struggling face. Once leaning against his chest and belly and groin with his knees bending the right way, he could slip down further, letting his calves and feet slide into the horizontal pipe until he was in the praying position. Still no good. His buttocks were pushing against the solid ceramic facing above the entrance to the horizontal pipe. It's just the laborious nature of it all, and that King really chronicles every small movement and how much every small movement matters, and how one small movement and you will be trapped there, and that is literally my nightmare.
The claustrophobia, I get claustrophobic too.
Yeah.
That was
absolutely.
effective.
That was the first thing I put in here, was that moment, and it just reminded me that in The Descent when they get stuck in the cave for 2 seconds, and then you just immediately think, okay, I'm done, I'm stuck. And just that whole description of just trying to wiggle his way into that horizontal pipe is just terrifying to me.
Yeah, that section also has a lot of unseen rats where he can either hear rats or feel rats, or he's imagining rats. And that really gave me the heebie-jeebies too.
Yeah, definitely. And then there was one other section that I found really unsettling, and that was one of his dreams. You guys might be with me on this one. But when he envisions Bradley being tortured was a very, and this idea of pricking his eyeballs with pins and watching his eyes kind of go dead. That to me was because I think I brought up on our Danse Macabre episode how I hate eye stuff. And then the scene in Dark Half, where like it's from one of George Stark's books, but this idea of pricking a guy's eyes with pins and stuff, and like the fluids that would come out, it's so gross.
It's literally so in the pocket books, page 210 says a pin slid easily into Bradley's eyeball and was withdrawn, dribbling colorless fluid. And then he said it looked deflated.
Yeah, oh god, that's killing me. That's killing me. What do you guys have?
Or Allison, you want to go for next?
Yeah, I've just got one, and it's in the pocketbooks edition. It's 177. This is when he's at home with Bradley and Stacy, and they're watching TV, and he first sees the parade of righteousness about all the cops' dead families. Oh yeah, by the way, he blew up a YMCA that wasn't just filled with policemen.
Yeah, and he was only upset. I forgot I killed 9 cops and probably a bunch of homeless people.
Anyway, maybe I'll kill them, Richard said in a thoughtful voice. Maybe before I'm done, I'll get up to the 90th floor of that place and just hunt the maggots who wrote that. Maybe I'll just kill them all. Don't talk no more, Stacy burst out wildly. Don't talk no more about it. In the other room, Cassie slept her drugged, dying sleep.
Ugh.
And it's the 1-2 punch of the two kids, where first Stacy, who seems like this really tough little kid, is just really freaked out, understandably. And then the reference to this poor girl dying of cancer, just screaming her life away, unless she can get drugged out of her mind, I found really, it got under my skin.
Yeah.
Extending the doom of that character. Mine is much more of a visceral thing. It's after he's shot for maybe the 80th time in the book, I guess. But he's finally being affected by it. It's when his guts are coming out.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, man, I have that
There's
too.
a couple bits here, but I have a couple bits here. It's written, a loop of gray sausage escaped his fingers, and he pushed it back in. It hurt to push it in. It vaguely felt as if he might be shitting himself. Ugh. And a little later on, this is the grossest thing. He screamed as new agony flared. A loop of his intestines had caught under Holloway's chin. He crawled back, freed them, started to crawl again. That's gross.
I've got even more. I've got even more
There's one
intestine
thing I
talk.
had too, yeah.
It was a minus 005. His poor old intestines accordining out and trailing after him on the floor. Like, yikes.
That's absurd.
And another one here, it says his guts hanging in ropes around him. And then at that point he steps on part of himself.
That's the one.
And says something inside pulled.
Ugh.
That was when I was finishing the book. I was at home laying on my couch, and my partner was on his computer in his office, and I went, "Ah!" And it was when he stepped on his own intestines.
Oh, that did it for me. Yeah,
It's like, no, and I'm out.
Like he was probably cackling as he wrote that. He's like, "This is so gross."
I also think there's a moment, and I think this is he's just thinking about it. I don't think it's actually happened at that point. But on page 381 of Pocketbooks, he says he's talking about the crib. He says one ribbed and sliced small body in blood drenched crib. And I think I don't know if he's been told or if he's just dreaming or thinking about
I think at this point it's hallucinating
the
a lot
baby
too, though.
possibly being gone.
Still.
And ugh, gross.
There's some other stuff I wanted to talk about in this section that's more of a satirical or even just more disturbing to think about. But it's the title of the game shows that we're not giving the full descriptions. I got a couple here. They talk about treadmill to bucks quite a lot, but then there's also fun guns and how hot can you take it? Run for your guns. A lot of gun-driven stuff here. I like that. And then swim the crocodiles. That sounds a bit spooky to me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to swim against any crocodiles or alligators.
Neither
for me. No, sir. Thank you very much. Anybody have anything
else? What else spooked you guys?
Oh, there's a little brief dream that he has about Sheila being dead, and he says he's at her funeral, and somebody had propped her up in her coffin and stuffed a grotesque corsage of new dollars in her mouth.
Oof.
Oh.
I thought that was kind of disturbing. Yeah.
I'll say, too, I kind of like the anxiety of the concept of never knowing or never being as far ahead as you think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's I think, a fun part of the early part of it is that Ben thinks he's probably really far ahead, but then realizing he's not, and that they're always, like, closer to him than he thinks. That's just sort of a cool general sense of anxiety that I like that was pervading the book really early on. But, yeah. And then also, the use of racial slurs was pretty terrifying. Like casual racial slurs.
Oh,
Anything else that's freaking you guys out?
I kind of like the image when, where is it? When Killian looks out.
Oh, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
This is hilarious.
The twinkling vista of the city from South City to Crescent was gone. The entire window was filled with an oncoming Lockheed TriStar jet. Its running lights blinked on and off, and for just a moment, an insane moment of total surprise and horror and disbelief, he could see Richard staring out at him, his face smeared with blood, his black eyes burning like the eyes of a demon. Richards was grinning and giving him the finger. Jesus was all Killian had time to get out.
You know what's funny about that is that reminded me of not of The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but of True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's flying that jet up and the terrorist sees him and he kind of smiles at him.
Oh,
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Another really scary thing to me, though, was just the whole idea of what is going on in the rest of the world at this point. And like, he talks a little bit about it. It says there's a limited legalized murder and germ warfare in Egypt and South America, and the notorious have one kill one Nevada abortion law. And I just thought, God.
There's a couple other things. He talks about cannibal riots in India. France is under martial law.
Right,
so
right.
He teases things here and there. I also like how there's a Nixon Memorial Park.
Yeah.
Just to hammer down the point of what's going on now. Yeah.
But that was it for me.
Are those cemetery gates closing?
Yeah, I think visiting hours are over.
The frost is off the grass.
The sun is rising.
The sun is rising.
And that leads us to a little section we like to call Word Processor of the Gods.
And we're going to make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
Was there any?
I
have one.
I wrote down a couple things.
It's anti-one, actually.
So yeah, wait, let me bring it up here. I had a little section. We're going through our books here. I got my Kane Hodder edition that I love here.
There's a little Jason mask on the spine.
Let's see. Yeah, I guess I just liked the description of Evan McCone, like when he first showed up on page 910 of the Kane Hodder Books edition. He knew the name, of course. It was supposed to strike fear into his heart. He was not surprised to find that it did strike fear into his heart. Evan McCone was the chief hunter, a direct descendant of J. Edgar Hoover and Heinrich Himmler, he thought, the personification of the steel inside the network's cathode glove, a boogeyman, a name to frighten bad children with. If you don't stop playing with matches, Johnny, I'll let Evan McCone come out of the closet.
And like that, and then right there is the last time that character is intimidated.
Exactly. But I did like that I think that was like such a really tight, functional, really helped introduce the character, kind of introduction of how he is viewed at large. Like this idea of painting him as like a boogeyman type character, a Bogeman kind of character was, I thought, very effective. So that was one that I had. What other good writing do we have here?
There was just a line that stuck out to me when he was describing the bombed out YMCA. He says, minus 73 of the Pocketbooks edition. He just wrote, it looked like the skeleton of a murdered idea. And I just like that.
Yeah, I actually remember that line. That struck out to me too.
I'm at the hotel, bombed out, YMCA. Sorry, I got
what
the song
hell
in my
is
head.
that?
Oh, boy.
Listeners, read it up. Listen to it.
I really, I think there's some pretty good writing in the two Paracas chapters.
Oh, yeah.
2, 3, however many there are. But I really liked this bit here. Mom's right, he said. I don't make a very good secret agent. I forgot the keys. Richard gave them to him, then essayed a joke. Half a secret agent is better than none. It struck a sour chord or no chord at all. Elton Paracas carried his torments with him too clearly, and Richard could almost hear the phantom jeering voices of the children that would follow him forever, like small tugs behind a big liner. I really liked that little chunk.
Well, those are all actually nice. I didn't necessarily pick those out. For once, for me, I couldn't really find the real piece of beautiful prose. At least that really stuck out to me, at least. And I feel like in all of his books, even the bad ones like Rage or something like that, even Roadwork, we were able to find some nice passages.
Yep.
I have something here. I'm going to call it anti-word processor of the guy. This is like the computer's crashed. This is an attempt at writing beautiful prose that I found to be really lame.
Let's hear it.
Here we go. This is when Richard stumbles upon that kid. He was a good-looking boy, well-made, perhaps 11, and there was none of the pale and patched inner-city look on his face. There was something suspicious and alien in his features, yet familiar also. After a moment, Richards placed it. It was innocence.
I forgot about that.
That's not going to be good for anybody.
I somehow missed that.
That kid
that was
is stupid. That kid is incredibly stupid.
Oh man,
I just kind of, I had goosebumps. I know if you get goosebumps, that means that you can feel and you're really intelligent. So when I read that, I got goosebumps.
I had another section where he's kind of describing the poor and sort of the general milieu around the poor. On page 898 of the Kane Hodder edition, the police were deployed more heavily here, and more were coming all the time. Richards was not surprised at the swiftness and the heaviness of their crunch, despite the suddenness of his appearance. Even here in Boondocks, USA, the club and the gun were kept near to hand. The dogs were kept hungry in the kennel. The poor break into summer cottages closed for autumn and winter. The poor crash supermarts in sub-teen gangs. The poor have been known to soap badly spelled obscenities on shop windows. The poor always have itchy assholes, and the sight of Naugahyde and chrome and $200 suits and fat bellies have been known to make the mouths of the poor fill with angry spit. And the poor must have their Jack Johnson, their Muhammad Ali, their Clyde Barrow. They stood and watched.
You know, if you read that today, I wonder if they're thinking of Jack Johnson, the surfer.
I had that moment when I was reading it.
I was like, he was around back then?
That's great. That's
He's
nice.
been around forever. Yeah, it was a good section.
A good passage, everybody.
Yeah. Mac, do you have another one?
No.
Oh, okay.
Allison?
So you futzing with your Running Man notes over there.
Oh, well, there was something I probably should have left in the cemetery, but I brought with me to the word processor.
Oh no, it's like a
pet cemetery.
No,
leave it
we're
alone.
supposed to. This is another section where I think he was trying to make us be like, oh yeah, Richards, I'm going to get behind him. He's a good guy. It was the section where he was talking about like, well, I really want to hit Amelia or rape her. He has like this weird section at like page 264 of the pocketbooks.
Edition.
Yeah, I didn't have it written down here because it wasn't word processor worthy. But yeah, I just thought, what are we doing here?
Sounds like a computer crashing of the gods.
Has the computer crashed? Is there anything else to say?
I took it to Geek Squad. They said, you got a new computer. Sorry.
Well, that was your first problem, was taking it to Geek Squad.
They've helped me out in the past.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't trust my. I wouldn't trust my computer with a bunch of geeks. I take my computer to the cool squad, the jock squad.
You know, guys, I'm kind of hungry.
Oh,
I am too. Good thing that there is a massive plate of pound cake sitting right in front of us.
After all you've been taught, everyone isn't bad, Mama. Everything isn't a sin.
Come to your closet and pray. Ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mama.
And pop. And now Allison Shoemaker, Losers Club member, will explain what that pop was.
So, don't worry, we're never going to change the name of the section. It's always going to be called Pound Cake. But there's like an unofficial sound mascot for the Pound Cake section now, and it is the sound of a champagne cork popping much like the sound of a penis popping out of a very tight woman's vagina, as immortalized in the classic novel Roadwork. Now, we don't actually get... There is a champagne cork reference in this book. But it is not P&V related.
It's obviously the same universe.
Yeah, it's like, so King must have been real high. He must have been having a lot of sex with some very tight vag. He had champagne corks on the brain. So I happened today to bring this bottle of pre-made Bellinis, which sounds gross, but it's actually really delicious, and realized that we could actually make that sound in this section. So we did, and now we're all drinking Bellinis, which we're going to have to get through this extra dense helping of pound.
You know what we could do going forward, though, because Roadwork was a Bachman book, this is a Bachman book. Maybe for all Bachman books for the pound cake section, instead of the Great Van Halen song, we have the champagne cork popping. So
hey, we've got the audio.
We got the audio now. The master tapes, save them.
Short and sweet.
But we only got 2 more Bachman books, right? We got
no, there's about
Thinner.
I think there's 3 more.
Is Blaze one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Blaze
being Blaze.
Just Blaze being Blaze.
Is there not a short story collection?
Nope.
No, there's a Thinner,
Regulators, Thinner, and Blaze.
I'm stoked for Regulators. Yeah. Although I haven't read that book in 20 some years, and I can remember pound cake in it.
Good Lord.
So here's some pound cake though. This one's so good, and we've already mentioned it, but it needs to be brought up again. When Ben goes to the game show headquarters and begins taking the test, and he's met in booth 6 by a tall Juno-esque blonde wearing iridescent short shorts, which clearly outline the delta-shaped rise of her pudenda. And just to add the little cherry on top of that, rouge nipples poked perkily through a silk fishnet blousette.
Rouge nipples was one of my favorite Mission Impossible movies, by the way.
And then there was a couple pages later. She goes, "Not so fast on that one, Ben." And he goes, "But they'll be all right," he said, and smiled back at her. He leaned forward and swatted her lightly on the rump. "Take a shower, kid. You done good."
Okay, yeah, I've got that too, absolutely.
Just boys being boys.
Just boys being boys.
Just a little
locker room talk.
Just locker room talk.
Mac.
I don't know if this is pound cake, but it was more of an interesting description he wrote on page 24. He was talking about all the guys lined up in the showers, I think. He said, "Penises dangling from their legs like forgotten war clubs."
There's a lot of male pound cock. Pound cock! There's definitely a pound cock chapter in this book.
And then I only had, we've talked about a few of them already that I had. So the only other one I had was a -91. Said the kid had enjoyed crouching under the high school bleachers and looking up girls' skirts while he flogged his dog.
Oh, he was describing that weird. Yeah,
I thought that was weird.
I liked on page 742 of the Kane Hodder Books edition, pretty early on. Richards was nearly out of his mind with anger, worry, and frustration when a young and slightly faggoty-looking pal. And then later, he just says it again. At about 15 minutes past 10, the faggoty-looking fellow.
It's good alliteration, I guess. But
what is he doing?
He's hiding behind that name.
Oh, man.
Allison. So you got some stuff.
Okay. This is an entire page about a character who has maybe 2 lines.
Bring it.
I'm going to drink while you're doing this. See what happens.
Yes, please do. You're going to want to. The woman was very old. Richards thought he had never seen anyone as old. She was wearing a cotton print house dress with a large rip under one arm. An ancient wrinkled dug swayed back and forth against the rip as she went about making the meal that Richards' new dollars had purchased. The nicotine yellow fingers sliced and diced and pared and peeled. Her feet, splayed into grotesque boat shapes by years of standing, were clad in pink terry cloth slippers. Her hair looked as if it might have been self-waved by an iron held in a trembling hand. It was pushed back into a kind of pyramid by the twisted hairnet, which had gone askew at the back of her head. Her face was a delta of time, no longer brown or black, but grayish, stitched with a radiating galaxy of wrinkles, pouches, and sags. Her toothless mouth worked craftily at the cigarette held there, blowing out puffs of blue smoke that seemed to hang above and behind her in little bunched blue balls. It's still going. She puffed back and forth, describing a triangle between counter, skillet, and table. Her cotton stockings were rolled at the knee, and above them and the flapping hem of her dress, varicose veins bunched in clock springs. That is an entire page about a character who I think has 2 lines.
It's funny because Vincent D'Onofrio took that for inspiration in Men in Black. Description.
Honestly, that's the most descriptive thing in this book, and it's about a character that's in like nothing. It's like barely in it. Like, well, how about that for Richards or any of these other people that we spend the entire book with?
What was the boat feet? What was it again?
It was her grotesquely splayed from years of standing.
Wasn't there some boat-shaped feet? That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Boat-shaped feet. You see, the thing is, Mac, it's really important to let male characters be defined by what they do, while female characters are defined by the age of their saggy dugs.
And
You're absolutely correct.
And the ashen gray face.
Similarly, when we meet Elvis's mom, or Elton's mom, the door swung open and Richards looked at a scrawny woman with no breasts and huge knotted hands.
Got it.
That's no breasts and huge knotted hands are the things that must be described. Her face was unlined, almost cherubic, but it looked as if it had taken hundreds of invisible hooks and jabs and uppercuts in a no-holds-barred brawl with time itself. Perhaps time was winning, but she was not an easy bleeder.
Oh,
good Lord.
Okay, here, I've got a couple here.
Yes.
I'll knock off. Once again, that Juno-esque blonde,
classic,
from the classic beauty, the blonde Juno-esque woman, and she says, "May I call you Ben?" "Sure," he said. "Nice tits." Same employee after the exam. "Not so fast on that one, Ben." "But they'll all be right," he said, and smiled back at her. He leaned forward and swatted her lightly on the rump. "Take a shower, kid. You done good."
I read that one a couple minutes ago, but it deserved to be read again.
Oh.
Wait, did you read that line?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you read that earlier.
No, I apologize, Randall.
It's okay. It deserves to be read twice.
Oh, there's another from this exact chapter. Then please turn to page 1 and begin. When I say stop, please put your pencil down. You may begin. He didn't begin. He eyed her body slowly, insolently. After a moment, she flushed. "Your hour has begun, Ben. You had better..." "Why?" he asked. Does everybody assume that when they are dealing with someone from south of the canal, they are dealing with a horny mental incompetent? Perhaps because you're insolently eyeing her body. She was completely flustered now. I never... No, you never. He smiled and picked up his pencil. "My Christ, you people are dumb."
Whoa!
When Elton enters on page 854 of the Kane Hodder edition, the door opened and Elton Parakis walked in. He was immensely fat, and his lackluster blonde hair was combed back in preposterous waves from his forehead to show a round baby face that held an element of perpetual puzzlement.
So preposterous, perpetual puzzlement. I already screwed it up. I do have one more I want to read here. Once again, that Juno-esque blonde from the beginning of the book. "Not so fast on that one, Ben. But they'll all be right," he said, and smiled back at her. I just want to call myself out for reading my notes when Randall was doing that. Okay, I do. Here's something that's just disgusting that we kind of point out in this section. This is at the Y restroom. "Essence of urine, shit, puke, and disinfectant mingled. There was a pile of feces in one of the urinals. A few sluggish autumn flies were crawling over it." That's pretty disgusting. That's gross to me.
I'm trying to find it's somewhere. I can't find the exact line, but just I could not stop laughing when I read the line about him following Elton, and he just had a sentence that simply was, "He jiggled." May I call you Jiggly?
He objectifies a man in this book.
And it's
Donahue.
Well, it's just whenever he writes about fat people, it is like he has to make it as grotesque as possible.
Oh no, this is a sexual thing.
Oh, let's
with
hear
Donahue. He's got a couple of them here. I was like, what the? Donahue trod them back. He had long hair combed back, greaser fashion, and pants tailored tight enough to show what looked like a bag of golf ball at the crotch. I copied that wrong. Golf balls, plural, at the crotch. The maps were encased in limp plastic. Richards didn't know what Donahue's balls were encased in.
Hey-oh.
Here's one. "She had never really been a handsome woman, and in the years since her husband had not worked, she had grown scrawny, but in this moment she looked beautiful, imperious."
Imperious.
Fuck you, bro.
Donahue turned away on that short word. His neck was bunched. His buttocks and his tight blue uniform were as pretty as a girl's. It reminds me of Bill Paxton in True Lies.
Yeah. I'm stuffed to the gills. Is there any other pound cake that we want to feast on?
God, I mean, there's loads, but at some point we have to stop eating, or our intestines are going to come out of our bodies, and then we're going to step on them.
Or they get caught in somebody's chin.
I've been stepping on mine for a while.
And then you feel a tug inside.
Oh,
God, that makes
like you're shitting yourself.
It really, I mean, it's a very upsetting phrase.
Yes.
Every time you say it, I'm like, oh. God.
Gray sausage.
Gray sausage.
I remember that.
I've heard of gray matter, but gray sausage.
I will say that I think that the first time I guess I always, when I was young, I always envisioned intestines as being red. So I remember it being very struck by the idea that they were gray.
Yeah. and that we enjoy sausage from other beasts on this earth, but
total sausage fest in that plane.
Oh, God. Actually, it really was at a certain point. Once Amelia was blown out of the plane, it was just a sausage fest.
Yeah, speaking of Superman, can we talk about how the door comes off the plane, she gets ripped out, and he's like, well, it's windy in here, but I'm fine.
And my guts are falling out. But
my intestines are waving behind me like a
I'm surprised
flag,
his intestines didn't go flying out the door.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Why did that happen?
And then he felt a tug.
And then he felt
inside.
a pull from inside.
I felt like he was shitting himself.
Any other pound cake people?
He wasn't shitting himself. That was just a Pulitzer.
Oh God, that was so funny. Lord, speaking of shitting, Lord knows I'm gonna have to take a huge one after eating all this pound cake, and then I think that signals that it's time for a little bit of dessert in the form of King's Dominion.
There's another world out there. I know there is.
What? I was about to say, how are you going to transition from that to King's Dominion by more dessert?
I thought it was going to be, I'm going to have to take a huge one after all that pound cake. Luckily, there are lots of very clean toilets in King's Dominion.
Oh, that's a good one.
Well, in King's Dominion, I am going to get some dessert, and I'm going to get in the form of ice cream in dairy.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Booyah.
Very good.
The first mention of the town of Derry,
it's crazy,
is in a Bachman book, which blew me away. He said it's page 253.
Oh, this is the first. This is the first mention of Derry.
It says, "Geez, that's over 100 miles from here in Derry," and it's spelled the correct way and everything.
That's where they take off from, right?
Yeah, and that's where they take off from.
Yeah,
I wonder if he just threw this out there, even remembered that he mentioned this in this book when he got to it. But we like to think he did, and definitely on purpose. So I also have a couple of Room 237s.
Yes, I love Room 237.
These are, of course, for people who have listened to a lot. These are the stretches.
These are, of course, they're absolutely wrong. These are for the people that are
so
reading and very in tune.
These are for the red-pilled listeners among us.
Oh God!
So there were only two, but they were related. And it was page 21 of Pocketbooks. He wrote, "It was full dark outside now."
Oh.
There were no stars?
Page
That's
3328, sealing the deal. He wrote, "Outside, it was almost full dark." Two full dark mentions.
Has to be.
This was laying the groundwork for full dark, no stars.
He may have been on a coke binge, but he said, you know what, 29 years later, I'm going to write a series of novellas in the collection.
Also,
full dark, no stars.
They were talking earlier on, they said, radiation, your children will be monsters. And the fear of genetic mutation, much like that of the muties in the Dark Tower.
Room 237, definitely.
I'm checking into Room 237 after this.
Boy.
So yeah, I also like the Pennywise appearance in this.
Oh no.
Pennywise popped up at the airport, had his balloons.
Because of the dairy thing?
Yeah, I'm totally making that up. But I kept joking.
He waved down as he flew away.
I just kept thinking about how would Pennywise like I would just love the concept of if King went back and did a revision of this and just added Pennywise.
Well, you know what he would call Richards?
What?
A Benny boy.
Oh boy.
Keep drinking, everybody. I've got a couple.
Oh, you got King's Dominion?
I got a couple.
Nice.
This is definitely in the Room 237
Okay,
category.
good.
Oh.
After one of his videotapes get altered, we read the following. Maybe I'll kill them, Richard said in a thoughtful voice. Maybe before I'm done, I'll get up to the 19th floor of that place. So the offices were on the 19th floor. We're killing
I thought
those.
it was 90th.
That's what I thought too, but I've got 19th here. Maybe I read it wrong. Or maybe this is room 237 and it really was 19 now. Maybe I just screwed that up. Miss Sparaka says, I'm 65, but I was only a fresh young girl of 19 when it began to happen. Probably talking about going to physical hell, apparently.
And the next book after this is The Gunslinger.
That is true.
So
It
maybe
begins.
he was already thinking.
He was thinking about Mrs. Parakis. Being 19 years old.
Would 2025, the year in which the book is set, fall into one of those fateful Pennywise years in Derry?
Ooh.
No. It would have been
I give up.
2013. I think it would have been 2013 would have been the last one, and then the next one would be 2040.
Well,
So this was just a normal shitty thing that happened.
This is just a bad... Well, things were pretty bad in Derry to begin with, and now it's just... But this is no Pennywise.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
What if when instead of Ben's giving the finger to Killian when he flies the airplane into it, but Killian also sees like a clown sitting in the passenger seat just cackling, holding a balloon.
Let me
balloons.
just say, up until that point, I was like, all right, this isn't a great book, but I'm enjoying it. It's a quick read. That is literally like the last page when he does that, and all I could think of was Die Hard 5. When he flying from the helicopter and giving him the finger at the very end of the movie, which is one of the worst moments in cinema history. And also, now in novels, I hated that scene. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It wasn't like I loved the book, but at least I was taking it seriously to a point. And then to do that, I just thought, "What is going on?"
It made me laugh. I'm not sure it was supposed to make
made
me
me
laugh, but it made me laugh, and for that, I thank it.
They were probably like, you know what? This could be a good Schwarzenegger vehicle based on the last paragraph of the book.
that's
They're like,
all
we could really spin this.
Get me Arnold.
Yeah, they probably just read the last page, like they got their rights, and they're just like, oh shit, I forgot to read it before the pitch meeting.
I have nothing else for the Room 237
Yeah,
or for this King's Dominion.
I think that leads us into our overall thoughts on the book.
Dad, can we go now?
You ready?
Yeah, we've been ready for an hour.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You said that a half hour ago. Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
Let's go through and give our overall thoughts. I'll start. I'm going to say that The Running Man is not a thoroughly enjoyable read, though it is a fairly quick one. I find it a very tedious read. I don't enjoy the characters. I find the world very dour, very unpleasant, very sterile. It has moments of inspiration. I think that King is having a ball with in terms of cranking up people's disgust in terms of the body horror on display here. But he also does a nice job with some of the action sequences. I think the car chase with Elton is a bit haphazard, but I will say that the pipe scene was very, very effective, and I was really into that. And, there's a nice pace to the book, but overall, it's really hard to get behind the character. It's really hard to invest in the character's goals, and a lot of the things that I found most fascinating about the world could not be explored through Ben's eyes, such as, what's it like to be one of the hunters? What's it like to watch these shows? What does the general, outline of the TV show look like, since we're only getting a couple minutes of Ben in each one? There were so many perspectives I found interesting from the supporting characters that we don't really get to see. We're really trapped in the head of a very unpleasant man throughout the course of this book. And I think that was, and I wasn't expecting that when I first read it, because I was expecting an Arnold Schwarzenegger type, who to me is the opposite of unpleasant. But
like a Richard Dawson type.
Yeah. So so on that note, I am going to give The Running Man 1.5 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Ooh.
That is surprising.
Your review is not as brutal as that the nose rating there. I was taken aback. That was more surprising than most of what happened in the book, actually. a genuine twist.
What can I say? I'm a harsh critic, as they say. Mac?
I have not.
Like Rex Reed
I haven't
over
read Rage, but I did read Roadwork, and I can't remember what the hell I gave that book. But I have to say, when I was reading this, and like coming in here, and now after this podcast, I'm like, wow, I really didn't like the book that much. But up until today, I remember actually enjoying the book. I think it obviously has a lot of problems, but to me, it was just like, okay, this is King's stab at a Philip K. Dick novel, and in that kind of future, and that kind of weird dystopian reality. And I think at the end of the day, I would give it 2.5
bright red
Pennywise clown noses. And stick with that.
And stick with that. What?
That's your.
Because I'm debating on. We'll see how I feel at the end of the podcast, but I think that's where I'm at. 2.5, hard and fast.
2.5, hard and fast. Allison.
Thanks, boys. Overall, I mean, I read it. I was occasionally engaged in it. But I think there are a couple big problems. One is that it's because he wrote it so fast, and maybe it really didn't get an edit. But it feels like all of King's worst impulses in one place in a condensed little package, with some neat set pieces tucked in there to make it palatable. I think that he is a great American writer who hadn't yet figured out that you can't write a dystopia just by making up some new words and saying it's in the future. There are ideas here that are interesting, but they're not explored in any kind of depth. There are characters that are interesting that are not explored in any kind of depth, and there are a lot of things that are just eye-roll inducing, to say nothing of the occasional rage stroke. So it's better than Rage. I think I probably liked it better than Roadwork, but that would be a close one. So I think I'm going to go with 2 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Booyah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the 1.5 with you, Randall, but I think I'm going to go with 2 because it's not Rage.
That'll work.
Yeah, I think I like this more than Roadwork and Rage. But again, it's just saying, hey, World War I wasn't as bad as World War II. It was still an awful thing. You know what I mean? It was still an awful event.
Listeners, I just spat Fellini all over myself.
I'm sorry. I should have prepped everybody for that a little bit. But again, it's Allison, what you said about the unexplored territory is absolutely correct. There's so much going on around Ben Richards that I was much more interested in, not just the society itself, but just even the minor characters. I was much more interested in those characters. I have problems with 40-chapter climaxes.
Yeah. When you put it that way.
Especially when it's literally 40% of the book is just this climax on the tarmac and in the plane, I felt like. It's just, I like some of the satire. I like the idea of these games. I liked a lot of the ideas in the book. But once again, if you had told me just now, and I didn't know that he wrote this in 3 days, I absolutely would have believed you. It's not as long as I don't think it's as long as Real Work, so that gives it a point. It's not as boring as Rage, so that gives it a point. So I will also give this 2 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Nice. So I think that averages out to 2.
It's a hard 2.
It's a hard 2.
Yeah.
So
hard and fast 2, Mac.
Please tell us, constant listeners, what your bright red Pennywise clown nose rating was in the comments on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for this episode, and then fire up that old DVD player because you need to watch the Running Man movie if you haven't yet. So we're gonna move on over and let the games begin. Again.
Don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. You saw it on the television.
In the year 2017, an innocent man accused of a crime has a choice. Hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the Running Man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
So, the Running Man movie came out in 1987. This is its 30th anniversary. And let's just say it wasn't the most faithful adaptation of its source material. It was actually optioned before King was outed as Bachman, though. Mm-hmm. So, do you remember what year exactly he got out of this?
I think it was 85.
Oh, 85. So he was out by the time the movie was released. And I think, they marketed it as being a Stephen King story.
Well,
it's funny. They do. But in the credits, it actually does say based on the novel The Running Man by Richard Bachman. And that was a little King request.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So
it's fun. It's fun.
And it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is
McCone?
No, he plays Ben Richards.
I got some stats.
Okay, let's hear some
Here we
stats.
go.
So in the book, Ben Richards is literally described as being 28 years old, 6'2".
28?
I know, right?
It's nuts.
6'2" and 165 pounds. So I did some research. Schwarzenegger in 1987 was 40 years old, 6'3". So that's close. 6'3", 234 pounds.
Wow.
And that's all muscle, by the way.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
So not quite the book description.
He also worked as in the military for
There you
the
go.
Freebie,
He works.
So what's very interesting that this begins every single time we were like, it would be more interesting if they did a lot of that stuff that we proposed in the movie.
Yes.
I don't think it necessarily worked. Necessarily, I mean, like it made it for more an interesting movie, but
It made it for more
I still didn't
entertaining
think the movie
experience,
was,
I'll say.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
it's like he's in the military and then he gets framed by the government for killing like 60 people in this massacre. So he's hated by the general public. He's arrested and then but then he escapes, right? He's like on the run and he kidnaps Maria Conchita Alonso, one of the great babes of the 80s.
I got some news on Maria Conchita Alonso.
Oh, bring it.
The actress stayed at a hotel I used to work at in Orlando, Florida.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't working those days, but she was awful to my
Really?
coworkers.
No
Awful.
way.
She's also, I was not surprised to learn this, a frequent guest on Hannity. But anyway, we'll move on from that. We don't like to talk too much about politics.
Maria.
Yeah, not a very nice person.
Well-
I liked her in Predator 2 as well.
She's also in McBain, starring Christopher Walken, which is the movie that introduced me to bad movies.
Excellent.
As a I mean, her name's not Amelia in this, is it?
No, it's
But as a stand-in,
Amber.
Yeah,
Amber.
But as a stand-in for that character, again, I like the fact in the movie that we got to spend some more time with her, and she sees that. Oh, that's not how that happened. He didn't kill those people at the airport, and you see her kind of come around to believing Richards, and then ultimately trying to help him, and then being forced into the game herself.
And she kills one of the gladiators.
Right.
Woman power, right, Allison?
Oh man, oh god.
Yes.
So I like.
Allison's
so again, it was
illegally
like
downloading the movie right now.
we wished we had more time with Amelia and they fleshed that character out more, and I feel like they did that in this. Changed the name.
Yeah, I quite like her in this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's good.
she's fun.
Like they try to escape to Hawaii. She ends up turning on him. Well, doesn't turn on him, but she like outs him as being Ben Richards. He gets arrested. What Mac?
He's absolutely, I mentioned
I
his
said
wardrobe.
it's great that she has to out him when he clearly looks like
I know.
Ben Richards with a Hawaiian shirt on and some
like
sunglasses.
sunglasses, a fedora,
and it's
a
super
giant
flashy
Hawaiian shirt.
too. It's like he's not even disguised.
Right. And so he gets taken in, and then he's working with like this resistance group that Yaphet Kotto and a code breaker, the master of codes. They work together, and then
This can't be real.
No, this is absolutely real.
Yeah.
it absolutely. Well, they don't call him master of codes. That's a name we gave him, but he is a master of codes.
And Yaphet Kotto from Alien, from
Yes.
Live and Let Die.
I would never think that he was like the guy from Alien. He is such a non-presence in this movie.
I know, it's crazy.
Like he doesn't do anything. But
He's the main villain in the James Bond movie.
I know.
Yeah?
Isn't he into aliens now?
He says he was abducted by aliens.
Abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
So interesting.
He's getting older.
Yeah, but so basically they all get thrown into, and like the Running Man is a game show, but it's like a sillier game show. It's still about throwing a guy into a situation and people hunting him down and killing him, but it's all done in an arena, and he's basically going up against professional wrestlers who also kill you.
Yeah.
Guys named Buzzsaw, guys named was it Firewall?
Firestorm, I think, and I've got them names here. I apologize. It's Fireball. You're
Fireball, played by Jim Brown.
Sub-Zero,
which is he's a hockey playing killer.
He's a hockey playing killer.
Oh my god.
And Dynamo,
who's an opera
singer
who can throw electric bolts
for some reason.
Yes, but so he has to the three of them have to square off against all these. They're called hunter or what are they called?
They're called stalkers.
And what I love is the audience gets to choose which stalker like goes after them first.
Yeah.
And so Richard Dawson plays Killian in this movie, and Richard Dawson was an actor, but he was more famous as a game show
He's
host.
a composite character of the Bobby Thompson host and Dan Killian from the book. He's Damien Killian in the movie.
Yes. Yeah. And so we see him outworking the crowd. So it's such inspired casting because he has that schmaltzy factor with the audience, which he really plays up and really uses. and as he's engaging with the people. And I like that the people too are all just super normal looking.
Yeah.
Like they just look like the normal people that you would see at a game show, but they're literally rooting for these people to kill these men.
Yeah.
And so again, they all think that, these are war criminals. Like these are guys who have committed great atrocities. So we should root for their deaths. But there's a lot of fake news. Like they even have a line.
Right.
I think Arnold has a line where he says, hold on, I wrote it down. He says, truth hasn't been popular lately. So there's like this movie like presaged fake news so well. Like they literally manipulate footage. They create stories whole cloth and basically try to sell the concept of what they want people to believe is the truth. And that like this game show world, like Killian is directly connected to the president of the United States. That is like stated in this. So the government is directly involved in this, game show world. So,
which is kind of like the book.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's somewhat faithful to the book.
Yeah, but I love the lighter, campier tone of the movie.
Definitely,
because it ups the absurdity levels of it, which I think suit the material and expand on the material, and it never takes itself too seriously, which I really love. No. Although apparently Arnold wasn't very happy about that. This movie went through 4 directors. The first 2, I think it just fell out. The third one, they actually shot for 8 days, and he doubled the budget of the movie in 8 days. Like
I think George P. Cosmatos was one of the directors that got fired. I wonder if that was the one that went over budget.
It might have been, yeah.
Because he was also let go from Tombstone. He had some problems with Rambo First Blood Part 2.
There you go.
This guy can't finish a movie.
I just love you going into Seinfeld for a minute there. But yeah, so then, who was it? Paul Michael Glaser is the director?
Yeah, Paul Michael Glaser, who was Starsky in Starsky and Hutch.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and as we know who Hutch was...
Owen Wilson?
Ben Mears.
Oh, no shit.
David Soul from the Salem's Lot miniseries. Can you name the 4 other movies that Paul Michael Glaser has directed? You know of at least 3 of them.
The Big Bounce remake.
No.
Give it to us.
You're close. No, I'm kidding. Band of the Hand, which is this 80s kind of action movie.
Schindler's List.
No. Close. The Cutting Edge.
With Moira Kelly.
Moira Kelly and D.B. Sweeney.
Moira Kelly.
Love D.B.
The Air Up There.
Oh my God, that movie
with Kevin Bacon.
Oh my God, I hated that movie.
And the last movie he directed, and it makes sense, Kazam.
Oh wow!
And that was it. We're celebrating, I think, the 23rd anniversary of the last Paul Michael Glaser movie.
Well, Kazam's coming back, right?
Let's move on.
But Arnold was not happy with Paul Michael Glaser taking over. Because TV was not respected back then, and he was a TV guy at that point. So Arnold said that he shot it like a TV show, and thus took away some of the bigger themes, like the grander themes.
Which is ridiculous when you listen to the dialogue in this movie. Like, what was he? Arnold works better that way.
Like, and Arnold was, and it's like I think Arnold maybe thought he was making his, I think it might have been a Groundhog Day situation where, although I do like Bill Murray wanted it to be more philosophical, and Harold Ramis wanted to play up the comedy. I think there was a similar maybe argument here that Arnold thought maybe he wanted to play up some of the deeper social themes here, but how is that going to happen when literally like your character cannot kill someone without delivering a one-liner? And some of those one-liners were amazing.
I've got a list.
I feel like
if you want to do this now?
We'll go through them. Give it like a couple minutes.
Yeah,
I feel like it was better because this guy did TV, because the whole thing is about a television show.
Yeah, I agree.
So I felt like it really felt like it was a realistic show. The way they were shooting it, and I don't know. I think that it was probably better that they did that. As far as diving into the deeper politics or philosophy of whatever, when you've got all those one-liners like you're going to list off in a minute, how did he ever think that this was going to be anything more than just this fluffy 80s action,
dark
dump?
Comedy, satire-ish, I don't know.
I mean, it's not RoboCop.
But
they were going for that.
They were going for the RoboCop satire, definitely, with the commercials and everything.
So Arnold, at the time, though, he was... this was 1987. Terminator, he broke through in 1984, and he had been doing the Conan movies as well. But he had done Commando and
Raw Deal.
And Raw Deal were kind of the two ones that did this. And this movie came out the same year as Predator. So it was like we were at peak kind of Arnold action hero. Because the next year was when he started doing comedy, went on to Twins and stuff. So it's like... I think it's fun because we kind of have peak catchphrase Arnold here.
Unbelievable.
And so let's go through some of these. I'll say that the first one that I lost my mind laughing at because it was so unnecessary was he like picks a guy up and throws him off a balcony and he goes, "Need a lift?"
It's amazing.
It's so unnecessary.
And it's so unnecessary, and only Arnold Schwarzenegger could pull it off.
I know, and he
anybody
does
else,
I know.
You're no, it's not going to work.
It's amazing.
Somehow works. He's signing paperwork.
Yeah.
And that lawyer offers his back so he can have like a hard back. And he stabs him with the pin in the shoulder, and he goes, "Don't forget to send me a copy." Anybody have another one?
Oh yeah,
you
we'll
guys
go back
could
and
just
forth.
go
We'll go
back
back and
and
forth.
forth.
When he gets put in the pod to like be sent into the arena, he actually does an "I'll be back," which shows just probably how pervasive that had become and how self-aware this movie was. So he even gives an "I'll be back," which I thought was amazing.
And there's a long
Killian's response
beats
though
after that.
No, but Killian's response is great.
What does he say again?
He says, "Only in the rerun."
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
And then later, when he does kill Killian, he's like, "I told you I'd be back."
I'll say this one now. I've been waiting 2 hours to say this. This is one of the most inane one-liners I have ever heard in a movie. It seemed like it was a satire of a satire.
I think I know what you're going to say, and I'm excited.
So they've killed Sub-Zero.
Yep.
Okay, they've killed Sub-Zero. And Schwarzenegger looks up at the camera and goes, "Killian, here is Sub-Zero, now, Plane Zero." So immediately my brain started going into overdrive. Like, wait, is he saying like he doesn't have a pulse anymore? Is he saying he's warmer now, but he's still cold because he's dead? Like, that is the weirdest line I've ever heard. That might be the weirdest one-liner of all of his one-liners.
And since we're talking about that scene, we were talking about this. It's right out of Batman and Robin.
The way it's shot with the ice with the hockey player on skis. It seems like the Schumacher following around those ne'er-do-wells in Batman.
He must
and
have
Robin.
been a huge fan of that, and they thought, "Hey, let's put this in here."
And Batman and Robin
destroyed the
10 years
dinosaurs?
later.
The Ice Age.
That's a better line than the Plane Zero.
I know. I'm sorry, but your cries. I've been left cold to your cries of mercy.
Everybody, chill.
Chill.
You have another one?
I think this was about Sub-Zero. I could be wrong, because doesn't he like break his neck? Like
I got
so
this.
he goes, he was a real pain in the neck.
Oh God. So Buzzsaw, I don't know if you know this, his superpower is he's got a chainsaw.
Yes.
And so he's about to, saw into Ben Richards and Schwartz. He's got the Schwartz. He takes the chainsaw and cuts Buzzsaw in the crotch area.
Yeah, he like turns it around and cuts him in half.
And so they're running away, and I think he runs into Amber, and she says, "What happened to Buzzsaw? He had to split."
Yeah, it was so good. I loved it. And then when he kills Fireball,
there we go. This is the last one.
He has two actually.
He's got two. Yeah. You the first.
Well, because he sets him on fire, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, "How about a light?"
And he sets him on,
and then I think after he's dead, he goes, "What a hothead!"
With a hothead. Which Matthew Modine would obviously pick up in The Dark Knight Rises. He loved saying hothead.
Somebody get this hothead out of here.
We should also mention, though, that you're a real hothead. Somebody should also mention that Fireball is played by running back legend from the Cleveland Browns, Jim Brown.
Love Jim Brown. He's
Mars great in Any Given Sunday as well. And Mars Attacks. It was funny because before he popped up, I thought, is this the movie where he dresses like an Egyptian? No, that's actually Mars Attacks. I apologize.
Those were the ones I wrote down, but I know there was more.
I've got 7 of them. I think that might be it for the major one-liners.
Well, those were so good. It's just so funny because at this point it was like he had
the
to
Magnificent
do the one-liners.
7.
Because when you watch Predator too, like Predator's a pretty serious movie. It's a big dumb action movie, but it also genuinely like works as a drama in some ways because the characterization's good, the script's good, and it's just there's a real sense of breakneck survival in it and a really consistent tone. But the tone is broken ever so slightly early on when Arnold throws a knife and impales a guy against a wall and he goes, "Stick around." But I love it because it's so out of place in Predator. It's just like it is here to a degree, but I mean, well, it's not really. I think early on, it's just when they're playing with all the refugee aspects of this and the idea that or not refugee, the rebellion, this whole idea of countercultural protesters and things like that, and these people kind of staging a coup against the big government. There is a certain sense of seriousness and somberness in those early moments, and then just for him to pick a guy up and go, "Need a lift?"
Give you a lift?
That's and you know what I also love about that when he breaks out after that sequence is I have it here. He's wearing the same fake beard that Gene wears in Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, nice!
That weird patch beard, you know. He's also wearing a Gold's Gym T-shirt.
Oh, I saw that
with suspenders. And he's smoking. Oh, I've got a couple major differences. So obviously, this movie is not very faithful to the book, but honestly, in ways that makes it
in a good way. Yeah,
I've got some big ones here. Arnie is just casually smoking cigars in this movie.
Oh yeah,
like it's nothing. And I think in the book they point out that Ben Richards is enjoying. He's just having his second cigarette in years.
Well, that's good, and that's also because of the whole air pollution thing. They totally just
all the air pollution thing's gone.
It's gone.
They're
so
just
it makes no sense in this film. Like they're trying to take over the satellite feed so they can get the truth out there about what. Like it's not like the air. Like, it's not like the whole air.
Well, no, the truth about
stuff,
for instance, like how
or just that the Running Man's a joke.
No, about the whole society and that how these people are necessarily bad. They're hiding everything that's really going on.
Right.
Like they kill, like the fact that.
But they don't know that those people. They don't know until way later that those people were killed. That's my confusion. They don't know that the winners of the last season's Running Man were killed.
I'm talking about like in the very beginning when those people are innocently killed by the government, not by some rogue Ben Richards.
Oh,
that type of stuff has been going on. They've got but I got that. No wife and child for Richards in the movie.
No,
and he's forced to play the game in the book. In the movie. In the book, he volunteers and does it for his family. The game lasts 3 hours in an underground arena.
Yeah.
In the game show, in the book, it lasts like a month. And you can go wherever you want.
Yeah,
those are the big differences.
The big differences.
But again, for the movie, I feel like it works a lot better that way. I agree. It's way more entertaining.
It embraces the goofiness.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple fun cameos here. We get Mick Fleetwood, starring as the leader of the resistance,
as Mick with no K.
Yeah, Mick with no K.
And they put age makeup on him, and he looks the same. It's like, why did we do this? Like,
well, I guess 30 years ago he had more black hair, but he actually looks now like he did.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as his sidekick Stevie, Dweezil Zappa.
That's right.
Who gets two lines, and one of them I can't remember what it was, but it's turn the dial or like turn the dial up, which is a reference to a Frank Zappa song.
I believe so.
Or dial it up or something.
Yeah, he walks in. Yeah, at the station and says, "Perfect." God,
it's so great.
He's a couple years removed from the Don Johnson video "Heartbeat." Have you ever seen that? You gotta see that. I have some random notes too.
Bring it.
We've got. The composer of this. Was also the composer for Tango and Cash. That was the big. And Beverly Hills Cop, I believe.
Yeah, I was right about to say this sounds like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like basically they took Beverly Hills Cop and said, "Can you make a song that sounds like this for this movie?" And then they just added some like guitar solo to it, and like changes the key a little bit, but it's like the same melody.
I will say the main theme is a little more memorable than the Tango and Cash main theme, which is like this weird Pointer Sisters. Fused. I don't even know what the hell it is. It's very strange.
He also did
save that for our Tango and Cash cast.
Tango and Cast.
I think he also did Top Gun, and I think he's attached in some aspect to the new Top Gun.
Oh God, he's still alive, so good for him.
I hope he hasn't changed his style. I love the dancers, the choreographed dancing.
That was great.
And
that was
choreographed by Paul Abdul.
That was the connection I was thinking about.
Yeah, Jen, I was watching it with my wife Jen, and she was so taken with the. She misses the '80s leotard dancing outfits with the cutout with like the belly button cutouts. Just that little open circle in the belly.
Peak Showtime Lakers.
Yeah,
with the cheerleaders and everything.
She was very taken by that.
We have to talk about Kurt Fuller.
Kurt Fuller.
I think this is the first of his line of being the asshole subordinates.
Yes.
You've got. This was followed by, of course, Ghostbusters 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World, and something that might be near and dear to Randall's heart. No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan.
No Holds Barred. Love it.
He's the villain in that too,
and he has a bigger role in that movie.
I think he's the main villain. In that,
he's the main villain.
He gets electrocuted at the very end.
Yes,
he gets murdered by Hulk Hogan in the public arena.
I think I had gotten No Holds Barred confused with Running Man because I thought Kurt Fuller had a bigger role in this, but he actually he's the proof that there's no such thing as small part only small actors.
That's right. And he is no small actor.
Kurt Fuller is not a small actor. He's a very big actor.
Thrilled to see him.
I know, he's amazing. And I love, I think Richard Dawson is so good in this movie because he's able to really tap into the sliminess of the slimy aspect of being a game show host. Like, he was really hamming it up. But then, like, Kurt Fuller, like, they all look like TV executives, which I kind of love, like, his, like, cronies. But then he also had that big security guard guy who I think plays LaForce in
We
Mallrats.
were talking about that. I think it is him.
Mallrats.
You know what's really interesting about this movie is that Arnold Schwarzenegger in the beginning is so righteous, and he's like, I'm not going to shoot unarmed civilians and all this stuff. But then most of the movie, he's just a jerk out for himself. He doesn't care about the revolution. He doesn't care about outing the company that totally framed him or any of that stuff until way late in the game.
Oh,
so
that's
why
right.
do they do that?
Well, he breaks out because his two friends are with the revolution.
Right.
He was not with the revolution the entire time.
But they don't trust him, and he's like, you guys can do that. I'm going to go and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he doesn't care about it. He just wants to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
But then later on he cares, I guess, because his friends get killed especially, so he really cares at that point.
And one of them is...
This is one of the finest movies of the 1980s.
I'm just saying, like...
How dare you?
I don't know what...
And they named one of his friends Laughlin.
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, Yaphet
Oh, just
Kotto's
like
character.
I know. He was just like... There's another similarity to the book.
Yeah. It's very, very similar.
Very, very similar. That was the launching point. We got Cotto as Lachlan.
Here's another strange thing. So we have Jesse Ventura as the what was his name?
Mr. America or something?
Mr. America, the Gladiator or whatever.
Captain Fantastic or something like that.
It was a Captain America.
Captain Cool. I don't know.
He was amazing.
But I thought it was really interesting how he like decides that he doesn't want to take part in it.
Mm-hmm.
So they like CG his image onto another stunt man or whatever, and they. Why didn't they just do that the entire time? If we have the technology to do this, why are we even using real people? Because that scene is
they do
spot on.
They do
It's
want to
like,
kill Ben Richards.
Yeah, they do want to kill.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, to make like interesting TV, they could just make up anybody they want and do these fantastic stories and film it with stuntmen and just overlay the.
Well, that's what Pixar is.
Weird.
I think they also said at the pitch meetings for the movie was, we cannot have any logic in this, or it will be done before.
I think they call the technology where you can put anyone's face on anyone's body the little man defense.
Do they?
That's true.
Maybe that's where that came from.
R. Kelly was actually a big fan of the movie, not the book.
Yeah, very true. He wasn't a fan of the book.
Can we please talk about the John Parr song "Restless Heart"?
Oh yeah.
Wait, who?
That plays during the closing credits.
Oh yes, Jen was like losing it at that song.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I said, is that the guy from St. Elmo's Fire? It is the guy from St. Elmo's Fire.
And I just love like the first line of the song is like, the game is over.
Yeah, I've got the lyrics.
Yeah, oh great.
I won't read all of them because there's somehow like 5 verses.
Yeah, just read the beginning.
I'll read like the first verse and then the chorus. Okay. This is no game, standing in the dark. I swear I heard you calling my name, and now that things have changed. No pain, no gain. Something in your eyes just told me that this nightmare would end, and I found a friend.
And it's Maria Conchita Alonso.
And it's Amber.
Because they kiss at the end.
They do kiss.
That was so gross.
Shouting from the highest steeple, let it out to all the people. This is kind of like the telecast breaking.
The revolution.
It's like They Live.
Playing on the loudest speaker, burning like the highest fever, you hit the right spot. Here's the chorus. No more lonely nights with a restless heart. Roll the dice. Make a brand new start. Read the words and you got shattered. You and me were old and battered. Just one way I'm going to lose this restless heart. Running away with you.
It's like this song was written specifically for the Running Man.
It's no question. You get a great idea. It's like St. Elmo's Fire was a huge hit. What's this Running Man property that's coming out?
I remember now one more one-liner because Richard Dawson is like a soda spokesman. Mm-hmm. And the soda is, I think the theme is just like it hits the spot.
Yeah.
So then he shoots him through the billboard at the end, and there's all this fire. And he goes like, "You really hit the spot, Killian."
Yeah. That's a good one. After you literally read it on the billboard, let me read it again. Let me.
So, Allison, are you sold on this? Do you want to watch Running Man based on our discussion?
I've been watching it on my phone the whole time.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh.
No, I mean, I like camp.
Yeah,
it's very.
It is very campy. It sounds like the kind of movie where maybe you just have a couple of drinks and sit back and talk through the whole thing.
You have a bottle of this. What we're drinking right now.
The only thing is you'll miss the one-liners, but otherwise you're okay.
Oh, I'll put the closed captioning on.
Yeah, you got to have the closed captioning on.
That'd be great.
I will say that I haven't watched this movie in a long time, and I remember thinking it was garbage when I watched it when I was young, which is saying a lot. But rewatching it with Justin the other day, I had a great time.
Well, let's go around and give our.
I had a good time watching.
Well, I'll just read a little bit. I was finding some articles people wrote this year on the legacy of the Running Man movie.
The legacy.
And a lot of interviews. So this is just like, there was a BBC piece on the film's 30th anniversary in 2017. Oh, wait, no, this is from Wikipedia, but it was from the BBC. The Running Man was cited by a BBC journalist as having made accurate predictions about life in 2017, including an economic collapse and offering an enduring critique of American television culture. And then the BBC wrote this from it, which I thought was interesting. This whole idea of how we desire villains, like we want to see villains burn. And they were kind of relating it to like social media shaming and stuff like that, which I thought was interesting. So they wrote, the regular spasms of viral outrage that punctuate social media suggest we're not much better. From Harambe the gorilla to Cecil the lion, many people seem to love a story with a villain to direct righteous anger towards. They might not want to see the people behind these stories killed, but don't seem to mind if their lives are ruined in the process. Like the audience of The Running Man, many feel justified in venting their indignation, and they are having too much fun to stop it.
Spooky.
So yeah,
that's from the BBC.
BBC.
Wow.
And not BB-8. A little robot.
All right.
Nice. But no, there's been a lot of interviews lately with Stephen D'Souza, the writer, who is amazing, and who's been talking about it. And, you know, and I to his credit, they're not trying to act like they were trying to make anything. Him and Arnold both, like, because Arnold said in interviews too, he's like, even though he said he wanted the bigger themes to come out in other interviews, he was also just kind of like, hey, look, it's fantasy, you know?
It's fun, having a good time.
Yeah, this is a world where there's no civil rights, you know?
Well, you know.
So you can way too deep.
I know. And then, but Stephen D'Souza was basically like, you know, he goes, I think it's really depressing that there are some parallels. I mean, mainly in just the idea that literally we have like a game show host as somebody running the country. And I think that's sort of the real thing that everybody's taken away. And also this idea of economic collapse, because, you know, we have seen a great deal of that. But, and then also how reality TV has gotten more and more intense over the years. And there have been, you know, like we're watching like Naked and Afraid now. I kind of love Naked and Afraid, but also that show is very
staged, isn't it though?
No, it's not staged. I actually read a big interview with the guy who runs it, and he was very detailed about how they do it. But the thing is, like, I think what differentiates a show like that is where I think nobody's watching that show to watch people like die, because they bring in people who are survivalists. Like, that's what they do. They know how to live with no means, and it's all about watching like the methods by which they survive. So I think it's because I remember I didn't watch it at first because I'm like, it sounds like we're just watching this, wanting to see people like in pain and get sick and get attacked by bugs. But it's more so about the way it's framed and the way that they really celebrate what these people do. Is it's about how they, the methods that they use to persevere beyond these things, because they're trained in this way.
Like human nature against mother
So
nature.
how do they frame The Running Man to be something that we would be interested in?
Well, I'd be more than happy to watch somebody getting killed on television. I'm kidding.
There was apparently a reality show overseas where it was a similar thing, like a guy was let loose and then hunters were like chasing him, but the goal wasn't to kill him, it was just to capture him.
What if like the twist in the finale was, they're going to murder
No, they will kill you. So no, that would be wild. But yeah, I mean, I think that luckily as much as I think our bloodlust manifest in terms of entertainment manifests in more, I don't know. I don't think we're at a point where we want to see people killed on television. No. Although there was, I'm not going to go there.
I just want to see people slag on television.
Hey-oh, that's why we watch RuPaul's Drag Race. So any other thoughts on The Running Man movie? Do you want to give it a rating?
You start it off. Kick it off with the rating. The noses.
I'm going to give it 3.5 bright red Pennywise clown noses.
Wow, yeah.
It's a fun, dumb movie that you can. It's nothing that is going to blow your mind, but it's a lot of fun. There's much worse things to put on when you're at a party, or if you're just bored at home, just sitting back with a cocktail.
A cocktail.
What am I doing? Arnold's great. He's got so many awesome one-liners. It really just harkens back to when action movies were. I don't know. A lot of people would argue sort of a golden era of action movies, just, when Arnold was kind of running things, and the sense of not taking things too seriously, but also, making action movies that were as funny as they were thrilling, which we don't always get a lot these days. I feel like comedy and action is struggling.
I feel like
bit.
the Fast and Furious franchise is trying to bring that back.
They're trying to do it, and there are a lot of laughs in those. But I mean, now
even this is dumber and more.
I mean,
fun,
these
though.
are like the ones in the '80s. I think the real difference is that they were action comedies, and now we're getting like a lot of comedy action movies.
Yeah,
like where the comedy comes first and foremost, and those are fun too. I like those, but I think I really miss the that's why I actually really liked a lot of the movies that Arnold made, kind of when he had this little comeback, like when he made Escape Plan with Stallone, and what was it, The Last Stand with Johnny Knoxville. Like those were fun. Those because they didn't take themselves too seriously. They were really wild. They were really goofy, and just good stuff. And where the action was kind of put first and foremost. So I don't know. I like this movie because it kind of harkens back to my childhood a little bit and kind of the movies that I was raised on. So 3.5 Bright Red Pennywise Clown Noses, Mac.
I'm gonna give it 3 bright red Pennywise Clown Noses because I am watching it again. I had a really good time watching it. Yeah. And it's not one of those movies that's like you can't even sit through. Like, I had to talk through the whole thing. No, like it's an entertaining watch. It is something to behold. It's ridiculous, but it's over the top in a way that is entertaining to watch. Yeah. So I would suggest getting 5, maybe 6 of your close friends and watching this movie together. I just think it's a good time. It's totally different from the book, but in a lot of ways that we felt like would make for a better movie. And I feel like it does succeed in that aspect. And having watched a lot of adaptations recently for our piece, and those just being god awful, it made me actually really enjoy, what they did with this movie, even though it's still not that great. But yeah.
Pretty much what both of you said. I don't know if I feel like if I even explain a little bit more, it's just going to diminish how goofy and dumb the movie is. It's just a dumb fun. I think it's maybe 100 minutes, if even that. Yeah. When it goes, when it starts, it starts. Yeah. There's really no lag time in the whole thing.
It's just like the book that way.
Like you said, Randall, there's a Master of Codes in it. Yes. I love Master of Codes.
I love whenever there's a Master of Codes.
And Schwarzenegger, this is peak Schwarzenegger era. Peak era Schwarzenegger, I should say. The one-liners are tremendous. Richard Dawson,
killer performance.
One of the most perfect stunt casting roles you'll ever see. And that's actually not hyperbole. It's a really good stunt casting. Yeah. Is having him on this. Great song by John Parr, Restless Heart. Can't say enough about it. And if this episode does not end with that, I'll be very upset. Let me see here, actually. Oh, before I say anything else, I do give it a 3 out of 5. Wow, we all liked it more than the movie. More than the book.
Yeah. Allison, what would you give this based on what you've heard?
Well, how about I go off of the trailer I watched?
Okay. Yes,
there you go.
And to be specific, this is the Xfinity Say the Running Man into your remote and see what trailer comes up edition. And then I didn't rent it because I didn't have time to watch it.
Probably.
But it is perfect. It is the most perfect trailer that ever existed. And I give it 5 bright red Pennywise Clown Noses.
I think we need to write that on the board.
Like a 3. It sounds like a 3, but
it is.
But the trailer is heaven itself. So
that's amazing.
It's like those trailers from hell on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The I'll Be Back is in the trailer. Oh, so they were like, no, seriously, come on.
I have to bring this up again because you haven't seen the movie and you're giving it 5. And recently, Randall gave a movie 5 stars.
I'm giving the trailer 5. Yeah. I want to be specific. I'm giving
5 noses, not 5 stars.
Yeah, we are very excited to see 1922, which Randall gave 5 bright red Pennywise Clown Noses to on the 20th of November at 7:35 p.m.
Before having seen it.
Well before ever having seen it. He's saying this is better than Shawshank. As good as Shawshank, The Shining, and Carrie. So... we're really looking forward to seeing what Randall...
It's written on the board, so there's no changing
We're really looking forward to seeing this movie that Randall thinks is going to be amazing.
So, Justin, did we get any
response? I reached out to Mel and Dan about the movie and book. To be fair, I remembered to text them about this 25 minutes ago.
Yeah, there we go.
So they're probably busy on a beautiful Sunday.
I think Dan probably gives the movie, 4.5 stars, do you think?
Bright Red Pennywise Clown.
Dan gives the book... I will speak for Dan.
I know, I'm sorry.
Dan gives the book 3.5, and he gives the movie 3.5. So
that's probably true.
It's probably true.
Well, that's our episode for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for engaging with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you don't follow us on those platforms, please do, because we're always posting cool King news. We're always on the King beat, posting the latest news, posting the funniest shit, the funniest memes. We got it all, baby. We're all Stephen King all the time. So leave us comments, all that kind of stuff. Send us messages. Also, hit us up on iTunes and leave us a review on there if you haven't yet. It really, really helps. The people help find the show and just, makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside, and we read them all. So please do that. And anything else from you guys?
I think we should start up that John Parr song immediately.
Yeah, I think we need to get running out of here. So on that note, long days and pleasant nights.
I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you want somebody to treat you good.
Consequence Podcast Network.